The world is ruled by three types of people: the rich and the talented, and also people blessed with luck. It's easier for them to achieve something, because they can simply be in the right place at the right time. Some of these lucky ones were able to defeat the two-headed dragon. All of this was, of course, recorded for further distribution and profit. Hen was arguing very loudly with someone on the phone. The issue was about insufficient payment for his work. But his interlocutor could do nothing, because the prices were set by the guild. When he finished, his friend came into his room. Hen complained to him just to vent his emotions and calm down a bit. His friend tried to calm him down, saying that he was not without talent and that he would succeed. The game does not have auto-aim, unlike many others. And Hyun's background as a baseball player gives him a big advantage. He was once a famous pitcher, but an injury forced him to put his career on hold. Hen has been leveling up his character Midas for 5 years now. He still regretted that he had once invested all his money in this game. But this was his only chance. All this was done to provide for their families. Hen was walking home and talking about the book he had recently started reading. Suddenly, a truck came out from around the corner at full speed. There was a serious accident. The truck cabin was crushed. But Hen was very lucky. The driver managed to react and Hen remained unharmed. People immediately began to gather around. At first he thought that he was never lucky, but isn't surviving considered lucky? Just as he thought this, the pillar behind him fell. He was crushed by wires and also electrocuted. In 2034, the long-awaited game War of the Gods was released. In just a few years, it has made a huge impact on the fields of sports, entertainment, and culture. Nowadays, many people live off the income they earn from working in the game. Suddenly, Hen woke up abruptly. He had a first-degree burn, but he was already being discharged. He went home in a bad mood, as he had given his last money at the hospital. But still, he was glad that at least he remained alive. However, when I put my finger on the sensor, the door did not open. He tried again and again, but it was all in vain. But then a little girl opened the door for him and called him uncle. Walking inside, he saw his older brother June in the room. He asked if everything was okay with him, because he had received a call from the hospital. But Hen didn't answer and changed the subject, saying that the sensor was broken. But this couldn't be, because then it wouldn't work at all. June also said that it works on the same principle as in-game authorization. This made Hen very nervous. He quickly ran away, saying that he would be back soon. Unfortunately, his fears were confirmed and he was unable to enter the game. He couldn't understand why his data had stopped working. Everything was fine until yesterday. Suddenly he realized everything, but did not want to believe it. Could all this have happened because of an electric shock? It was the end. He spent a huge amount of money on pumping, and now it was all over. Just like that day. But no, he can't give it up. He must get at least some kind of job to support his family. Even ordinary miners in mines get paid. It's a good thing he had a hero creation card lying around. It all started as usual with the creation of a character. He named it the same as the previous one. And the cost of a card per minute was $800. Having filled everything, he created a new Midas. Now he had to choose a card with his hero's class. Suddenly he noticed that one of them was glowing very strangely. Having chosen her, he couldn't believe his eyes at first. He got an archmage that other players spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on. The rest stood and complained. Everyone wanted to get it. But Hen didn't care. With a class like that, there would be no need to mine. You need to level up as soon as possible and go on a raid. The first task was to survive 71 minutes in the orc forest. There is no need to kill them, as this is impossible for the first level. Suddenly he saw something else. Above each orc there was an aggression indicator. Everything in this game depends on social status. But at some point, everyone will face the fact that they will start to consider the game a waste of money. And the moment of truth, when the player faces reality, occurs in a training mission. The tutorial will only end after you die. But Hen even saw the monster statistics window. But that wasn't the most important thing. The aggression indicators were incredibly helpful. Green meant calm and no intention to attack. But as soon as it turned red, this meant that the monster saw you as a target to attack. But it was quite easy to dodge them. Who would have thought that learning scripts would help so much now? With 5 years of studying orcs under your belt and seeing the statistics and aggression indicator, everything should be easy. Exactly 1 hour passed. Hen still couldn't believe that this wasn't a dream. He was almost kicked off the server due to his rapid heartbeat. He needs to control himself better. His friend Heck asked what happened in the game, but Hen replied that he simply didn't feel well about starting all over again. Heck tried to support Hen because he knew what he needed the money for. Hen went back into the game but asked Heck not to tell anyone. His secret must be carefully hidden, otherwise the developers will not leave him alone. Apparently his ability was caused by the electric shock, and he must squeeze everything out of it. When he entered the game, he found himself in the first city. He was an archmage of legendary level. There are hardly 100 of them in the whole world. He still didn't believe it, but now he needed to think about upgrading. No matter how much he wanted to, he would have to join the guild. Suddenly he noticed some kind of glow under the tree. Coming closer, there was a question mark, very similar to the beginning of some kind of quest. Coming even closer, he saw the dog, but why was it glowing? Was this really a legendary quest? Such a glow emanating only from it. Now, with its help, he can cover all expenses for a month in advance. It was a game based on pure luck, and now Hen simply loved it. To complete the quest, he needed to obtain a revitalizing medicine for the dog. If it weren't for his ability, he would have simply passed by like the others. But he managed to find it, and he wasn't going to give it to anyone. First, you need to visit the Explorers Guild. I don't really want to have anything to do with these bastards, but I have no choice. Some people started setting up camp near NPCs and monopolizing them. This was the guild. Because of this, the first city was created. Those who leave it once will never be able to return, which means no one will stop them. But even so, the guild was able to gain the trust of newcomers. They helped them with hunting, improving their image. And after a few years, the guild turned into a real business. They were the reason why Hen didn't want to create a new account. The guild had 3 courses: basic, advanced, and elite. Payment could be made either with real currency or in-game currency. Since there wasn't much money, Hen chose the basic course. The guy gave him a list of quests and a document. When he arrived at the place, the quest was confirmed for him, and an incredible amount of information appeared. First, he needed to level up, and goblins were suitable for that. Also, upon reaching a level, the player was given skill cards. It's very difficult to get something good. But now Hen is not subject to chance. Although there was nothing unique, he was able to obtain the attack skill Fireball. He had been completing quests for several days, and it was time to take on the last one. He was told that he was quite good, but Hen pretended that this was not so. If it weren't for his skill, it would take him a very long time to complete all the quests. However, with him it was not difficult. But the man was amazed, because Hen had obtained the goblin's longing, which drops with a rare chance. Hen said he bought 30 leathers, but the quest required 10. But for some reason all 30 were taken from him. But they didn't tell him anything about this, and no compensation was provided. All this was described in the contract that Hen signed. Then he didn't bother to find out anything and just left. But in fact, he was very upset about the lost resources. And the man was glad that Hen didn't try to figure it out. Otherwise he could have gotten into trouble. An hour later he returned with another goblin's melancholy. All the quests were completed, and he received the revitalizing medicine. He was so happy that he even started crying. Now he will finally be able to complete the legendary quest. Coming to the dog, he gave her some medicine. He really hoped for a worthy reward that would make him rich. Suddenly he received the title of Divine Being Master. He was in a stupor. On the one hand, he has a divine being. On the other hand, it cannot be exchanged, which means he will not receive money. It turns out that this very dog became his reward. Hen really hoped that he at least had good statistics. So the dog had to be given a name. After thinking for a while, he decided that his name would be Lucky. Suddenly he realized everything. But his heart was beating too hard and he was thrown out of the game. On his way home, he pretended that everything was bad with him. Hex said that he was very sad because he lost his mage account. But in fact, right now, Hen was the happiest. He was not mistaken. This dog turned out to be a real Fenrir. This is the strongest divine being in the game, and has no equal in close combat. This kind of chance comes once in a lifetime. Suddenly the phone rang. It was his niece. Hen's face suddenly changed. She said that something was wrong with her dad. Within an hour, Hen was in the hospital. Seeing his niece Heron at the end of the corridor, he immediately ran up to her. Then a girl came up and said that June had a heart attack and hypotension. June had a pacemaker and it needed to be replaced with a new one. Hyun and Hyeron sat in the hospital until the morning. Everything in this life always comes down to money. There was no time to waste. He had received Lucky the Fenrir, and it was time to earn money like a human being. First, he went to the hunting forest for beginners. Everyone was paying attention to Lucky, but no one knew who he really was. Hen didn't think much of it, but Lucky really did look like a puppy. Hen killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Now he had someone to distract the monsters, and now he didn't need a partner. A little more leveling up and he will be able to leave the first city. Also, a random skill card came from the War Dragon. It's time to play this roulette again. The unique skill he needed turned out to be at the very top. It was a telekinesis skill, and it was very useful in battle. Since his class is Archmage, he can use any school of magic. Surprisingly, everything is going like clockwork, and now it's time to hunt and level up. Now he went to the Goblin Forest. Suddenly, Lucky attacked one of the goblins, and Hen finished him off with a fireball. So far, the hunt is not at all difficult, and we can move further into the thicket. Having gone deeper, he saw it. It was a boss raid timer. It was a treasure trove of games that could offer incredible rewards. But due to the high difficulty, only the strongest players can challenge it. It is often compared to the starry sky. Everyone can see it. but only a select few can control it. Also, this whole thing is almost always shown on stream. He decided to write to support and buy something tasty. Suddenly an idea occurred to him. What if he went on a raid alone? There's no one here now, and he killed all the monsters. Try it just once. Let him try to be law-abiding until now. But there was no guarantee that his life would be better than it was now. He had watched the Goblin Champion raid videos many times. He had never participated in a solo raid before, but now everything should work out. Thus, the decision was made to hunt the boss. An hour later, the time came. But as soon as they entered the territory, the boss was already waiting for them. He, without ceremony, began to attack first. Suddenly, he fell into a trap that Hen had prepared in advance. Then he threw the potion at him. Hen took advantage of the moment and attacked the boss. The Goblin Champion changed his style depending on his health level. But if you find a way to disrupt his attack pattern, the rest will be easy. As soon as the boss tried to get out, Lucky started biting his hand. Health level has dropped, now the movement pattern will change. But the boss failed to attack. A second later, Lucky knocked him down and he ended up on the ground. It all ended in one fireball. Hen received a new title, Goblin Champion Winner. Everything turned out to be much simpler than he thought. It would be great if everything was on stream. Suddenly, Lucky noticed something. It was the mask of the Goblin Champion. It was valued at a whopping $910. It would be nice to wear it, but now I have to think about rent and medical bills. His thoughts were interrupted by a call from the insurance company. They called to inquire about the electric shock, and Hen said that he was very badly injured. He asked to call back later, because he was going through a very difficult time right now. Hen asked Heck to add $300 to his game balance. He told the insurance company a lot of lies, and they paid him more than enough. And surprisingly, they believed him immediately. Of course, it's very rude to act like this, but it doesn't matter now. He needs money as soon as possible and as much as possible. Hen headed back to the Goblin Forest. There he shot the goblins one after another with fireballs. He also received a new spell, called the Ice Arrow, but in its speed it was more like a bullet. Hen felt safe because Lucky was with him. After some time, he received a set of goblin equipment. There was enough loot, but so far he hasn't received a single unique item. It would be great if it just fell on him from the sky. Suddenly a boy ran out of the forest. But as soon as he started asking for help, he was hit on the back. It was a group of other people. They laughed because they took out the guy with one blow. The guy said that when the guild finds out, they will deal with them. But this only made them laugh. At this level, he couldn't even contact anyone. They suggested that he not log into the game anymore, and then they would leave him alone. Hen immediately recognized them as rookie killers. They didn't leave the first city and just killed for fun. But it was dangerous to interfere. However, Lucky apparently had a different opinion. Hen just can't resist seeing how Lucky wants to help that guy. I wonder if together they are stronger than one Goblin Champion. Players found at the entrance to the forest. Everything was calm until they came again. One of them only swung to strike, but he was met with a fireball in the face. Hen came out and pretended to start a stream. He introduced himself as a great magician. They immediately began to hide their faces, but they had no idea that Hen was just laughing at them. They tried to say something to him, but he shot one with an ice arrow. The guy immediately realized that Hen's class was Archmage, and I thought it was some rich kid's second account. He started to run away, but he couldn't just let them go. Lucky caught up with him and dealt with him. He said he would remember Hen's nickname. Hen said let him remember and sign. From them, Hen also received various items. He immediately decided to see what they had, and for good reason. They had items that gave a set effect when wearing a Goblin Champion mask, and Hen immediately put them on. All stats have been increased by 25 points. Before this, he only had such characteristics at level 15, but now he achieved them at level 9. Suddenly, Lucky howled and scared Hen. As it turned out, Lucky also acquired the skill. It was a divine being skill, and besides, Hen saw this color. It was a legendary rank skill. The skill was called treasure hunting, and allowed one to find rare items. At first, Hen didn't see how he could use this skill, but then I remembered the player who was considered the luckiest. He also had a Fenrir. All of its content consisted of finding hidden dungeons. What if it wasn't his luck, but his Fenrir's skill? First, it was necessary to test how this skill works. Lucky found valuable plants throughout the forest that could be sold. He himself was a real treasure. Suddenly, Lucky stopped. He began to move closer to the hole under the tree. Coming closer, Hen wrote that he had found the secret hideout of the Goblin Shaman. By selling this information, he could have lived comfortably for a month, but no. Instead, he decided to clean it up himself. There were a lot of goblins inside, and at the head sat a Goblin Shaman. Suddenly, Lucky attacked one of the monsters. Then came Hen's fireball. Now it's time to clear the secret dungeon of the first city. Lucky was very good at dealing with regular goblins. To defeat the boss, you need to wait for the right moment. Hen's attacks took away a lot of HP from the boss. After just a few fireballs, the boss was almost killed. Now I had to dodge his attack again, but Lucky knocked him down. He interrupted the goblin's cast, only winning a second, but how it helps in battle. A few minutes later, the goblin shaman was defeated. Hen was about to leave when suddenly the boss stood up. He said that the war of the gods would begin now. Hen didn't understand what he was saying or why he was even alive. But after these words, the boss just burned out and Hen decided that it was just a bug. Now it was necessary to look at all the awards. One of them was the goblin shaman's staff, a unique weapon. But it was also unavailable for sale, which greatly upset Hen. Why does he need this stick at all if he can't even sell it? Suddenly he saw that the main quest had appeared. The scientist who created this game was named Kim. In an interview, when asked why he uses new technologies to create games, he replied that he simply wanted to write a story. He died shortly after, and players began searching for the story he wrote, called the main quest. Could it be that Hen had found exactly what all the players had been looking for many years? He was the first and only one to find it. They searched for him in all corners of the world, but he ended up where everyone started. The developers received complaints that this quest was nowhere to be found. But Hen found it, thanks to Lucky, and he won't tell anyone about it. Hen leveled up again and opened the card and received a legendary skill. After that, he headed to the first NPC in the main quest. His name was Yun. He asked if Hen wanted to leave this city and go to the big world. But Hen asked if he knew anything about the nameless god. Suddenly an exclamation mark appeared above his head. Yun said that this is the name given to those who lost the war of the gods and left the throne. They cease to be gods and are consigned to oblivion. Afterwards, he asked if Hen wanted to find their treasure. Hen, of course, agreed, because that was exactly what he came for. After this, Yun took off the ring and gave it to Hyun. He believed that he would achieve everything and reach the end. He told him to find Sakhalin in the city of Vega and show her the ring. After this, his dispatch to another city began. The only statement that all players agree on is that the real game begins after leaving the first city. It was much bigger, which meant more possibilities. Everyone who got here was very happy to get out of the first city. There was a huge market in the center of the city. This is the city of Vega, the beginning of the real game. The ring that Yun gave to Hyun was no less effective than the legendary ones. It was too good to be true. He hid Lucky all the time, since he didn't look like a Fenrir yet. Finally, he reached Sakhalin's house. Upon entering, she immediately asked who he was and how he dared to come here. Hyun said that Yun sent him here and her face immediately changed. She said she couldn't believe Yun sent such a brat. If he wants to talk to her, he needs to kill 10,000 orcs. He hoped it was a joke, but Sakhalin was serious. It will take months, if not years, to complete this task. He didn't have that much time, but his indignation was interrupted by the quest reward. It was a fragment of a nameless god. At this time, the team was fighting orcs in the forest. Hen looked at them and seemed to understand the essence of the quest. He doesn't need the mobs themselves, but the item they drop. The group that arrived earlier had already set its sights on that orc. It wouldn't be cool to go up to them and take the mob away. Suddenly, one of their team members was kicked out of the game. He hadn't logged in for a long time, and the system kicked him out of the game. If we're lucky, Hen's problem will resolve itself. After that, another girl also flew out. But what should the remaining girls from the squad do? While they were thinking, the monster had already run and was about to strike at them. But he was knocked down by a fireball. Hen pretended to start streaming again. The girls asked him for help, and he and Lucky immediately jumped. Lucky immediately grabbed the orc by the neck, and Hen attacked him with a fireball. Even though he had just left the first city, he was causing a lot of damage. It wasn't difficult to dodge the orc's attacks. For 5 years, Hen survived here without luck. I achieved everything through sheer persistence. But now he has luck, and even the orcs are no problem for him. When one of the participants returned, the orc had already been defeated. They thanked Hen. If it weren't for him, they would have already been killed. But now he needed to somehow drain them. The game is set up so that whoever attacks first gets more loot. Hen said he would step away for a minute. Afterwards, he pretended that he received a donation asking to show the loot from the orc. Hen said it loudly so they could hear. He said on the stream that he couldn't due to the rules of the game. Then the guy thought for a second. And then he said that Hen could take everything. After all, if it weren't for him, they would have already been killed. It would be impolite to refuse, so Hen immediately agreed. Hen said that such kind people still exist, and he is very happy about it. Having collected all the loot, he noticed one interesting thing. He was very lucky that that squad agreed to give him all the loot. Suddenly, one of the squad returned and asked for Hen's nickname so he could tell his friends. He didn't stream today, of course, but he'll definitely start soon. Afterwards, he went to Sakhalin. Along with completing the quest, he increased his level. Opening the card, he received the long-range cast skill. It was ideal for fighting large monsters. Afterwards, he asked her why she needed this fragment, and she asked in response if he knew why it was so difficult to find the nameless god. because magical restrictions have been established so that only former adepts can follow the trail. But how can they get around these restrictions? To do this, you need to pretend to be this adept. The reward for the next quest shocked Hen. It was a random legendary skill card. It was the first time he had seen anything like this, but it looked like the quest would be very difficult. To do this, they need a suspicious forest, and it seems Lucky was able to find the entrance to the altar they need. It was a small hole in the ground. Few people could notice it. Hen's imagination immediately presented him with the boss of this altar, but first he needed to hunt to reach level 20. Beating a level 11 boss is no easy task, but he won't even be able to simply enter there, so now they have time to really get into the game. At this time, another squad was fighting with the orc. As always, there is a real mess going on in this forest. When he started playing 5 years ago, he had a hard time keeping up with his teammates. Not long after that, the Major started buying up items and skills, and the gap between them grew. Back then he hated wealthy gamblers with all his heart. But now, most likely, others look at him in the same way. In front of him he saw an orc, a fairly easy target. He immediately released an ice arrow, and then he finished him off with a fireball. A monster of that level couldn't survive such an attack. After some time he began to level up quickly. A rumor spread through the city about a mage who was single-handedly fighting orcs in a suspicious forest. Many believed that he was simply lucky to be born into a wealthy family, but there were also those who wanted to kill him. Lately, Hen's ears have been itching a lot, which according to the omen means that he is being discussed. But he didn't pay any attention to it and continued hunting. After killing another orc, he finally did it. Surprisingly, he reached level 20 quite quickly. It took him only 4 days to do this. If the game had been like this for him 5 years ago, all the guilds would have already been at his feet. Now it's time to check the skill card. He really hoped for something worthwhile. From level 11 onwards, he hadn't received anything useful. But it seems now that his losing streak has been broken. A scream was heard in the room with the capsules. Everyone immediately noticed him. As it turned out, he had just received a unique ring. It's been a long time since anyone has found unique items. Hen asked to set up a capsule for him so he could re-enter the game. When he entered the game, he still couldn't believe it. He managed to get another legendary skill. Ranged cast increases magic damage, and the new skill, Dragon's Superiority, increases all types of damage. In other words, everyone fighting on Hen's side gets a boost. Now he will be much more useful than the average players. Lucky felt his emotions, and was also happy. Even though he didn't understand anything, he still behaved like a true friend. After a while, he came to the dungeon again. Afterwards, he took out the Sakhalin ring from his inventory. It had to be used to get inside. It was quite deep there. Suddenly, his ring started to glow. He felt the magical barrier of this dungeon. But thanks to the ring, he was able to pass through it. In just a second, a huge staircase appeared from the small hole. As soon as he entered, he was attacked by orcs, but he dealt with them without any problem using the fireball. If he had been streaming, he would have definitely received a donation, but it was too early. A few minutes later, he reached the boss's abode. When he opened the door, he saw nothing at first, but he felt something. The most terrible smell pierces the nose. Due to the smell, its performance was reduced by 10%. After going a little further, the orc zombie woke up, but for some reason he had an incredible amount of HP. This is 30 times more than that of an ordinary orc. While Hen was still aware of everything, he had to dodge. But suddenly he noticed that the boss was very tenacious. But at the same time, it was incredibly slow. Its speed is inversely proportional to the amount of health. Well, if that's the case, there's nothing to be afraid of. At this speed, Hen has a couple of seconds after casting the spell. The fireball did very little damage. But still, the boss is the boss. He needs to be killed and it shouldn't cause any problems. After a very long time, they finally succeeded. The orc zombie was defeated. Hen had something bothering him, and he tried to ask Sakhalin about it, but she kept interrupting him. She gave him a skill book, although that was probably too generous a gift. He tried to tell her again, but she interrupted again. And to his surprise, Henna herself named his problem. It all happened in the dungeon. When Hen was about to leave, the boss suddenly stood up. Hen was a little wary when he started talking to him. The boss said that Hen would never get a weapon that could destroy even a myth. He wanted to continue, but Sakhalin told him to calm down. She said that since he was interested in this weapon, then she will tell everything if he does her a favor. At the press conference, the developers were asked whether there was an item higher than the legendary rank, but they never received a clear answer. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Many people went searching, but no one ever managed to find him. And the reward for the Sakhalin quest was just such an item, but everything had to be kept secret. Otherwise, it could lead to catastrophic consequences. At home, he decided to see how difficult this quest was. It consisted of killing an orc assassin, and he, in turn, was the boundary separating newcomers and higher ranks. It was like a minimum requirement for career advancement. This monster has an unreasonably high raid difficulty. But after thinking about it, he realized that he wouldn't be able to score it on his own now. Does he really have to find himself a team? Jun asked Hyun what he was doing. Hen replied that he was just working. Things have been going very well at work lately. Suddenly Jun asked when Hyun would get married. Hen said he didn't need it for now. Lately, everything was really good. He could only live for a few months by selling information. But he had no intention of doing this and decided that he could manage without a team. The next day, he and Lucky decided to go hunting. Midas isn't the rarest nickname, but if he starts looking for a team, he'll be recognized immediately. For now, Hen did not want to reveal his identity. Suddenly, Lucky started acting strangely. Looking, Hen saw a question mark above it. Has Lucky really already reached a level sufficient for evolution? It was strange, because not much time had passed. It is said that the requirement for evolution is to kill 5,000 monsters. Could it be that all of this was also wrong information? This information can be very valuable in the community, and can be sold for a high price. Lucky was just a good luck charm. He needed to evolve as soon as possible, and then they would go after the orc killer. And it will be great to receive a unique skill as a reward. Hen Lucky estimates that there are still 400 monsters to kill. Of course, this is not a quick matter, but they will succeed. First, we need to start with this monster. It was just the right opportunity to test a new skill. The third legendary skill after polymorph and dragon superiority. Until this moment, he had fought him at half strength. But now it's time to see what the dragon's eye is capable of. There is no auto-aim in the game, so accuracy is very important here. But only the basic minimum is necessary, because the main thing is to simply hit the monster. Hen activated all of his legendary skills. As soon as the monster moved 40 meters away, it was possible to attack. If it hits from maximum range, it will increase the damage. That was the dragon's eye. Hen was amazed and managed to defeat the monster with one blow. For this, he even received a new title. But looking at Lucky, he was very dissatisfied. Hen completely forgot that his pet should finish off enemies in order to evolve faster. After leaving the game, he just sat silently on the chair. Heck decided he was having a really hard day and tried to cheer him up. Suddenly, he asked if he had visited the suspicious forest recently. Heck heard that the stench in this forest had subsided slightly. Hearing this, Hen thought for a second and did not listen to his friend. Is it because he killed the boss of the hidden dungeon? It's scary to even imagine how much the main quest can influence the game. If this continues, the other players will notice that someone is clearing the main quest. Hen asked Heck if there were still people who played with their sense of smell turned on. After some time, during another hunt, Lucky finally did everything for evolution. His body was filled with divine powers and the process began. Lucky evolved and received new powers from God. Hen was happy because he got the luckiest dog in the world. Among all the cards, he saw that same yellow color again. It seems the dog should have been named Cheat Code instead of Lucky. Hen couldn't believe that this skill appeared here. Now they would have no problem finishing off the orc killer. At this time, Heinz's team was in the forest. Apparently the three of them came to hunt the orc killer. Suddenly the boss appeared, and someone from another squad said that they were trying to take him down alone. One of the rules of the game is that damage dealers should not attack until the monster is distracted by the tanks. But with Hen, things were a little different. Lucky discovered a skill that allowed him to distract a monster in the middle of a fight. With a roar, Lucky challenged the orc killer. Everything was going according to the ideal scenario for Hen. He again moved back to his maximum distance and struck with a fireball. There's not much time left until the final third phase of the boss. At this time, the other squads were very eager to see the one who went after the boss alone. Almost no one believed that he would actually be able to defeat him. The third phase was considered impossible to survive alone. After some time, the third and most dangerous phase arrived. The key to a successful fight is a high-level tank that will absorb all the damage. But if there are mechanics that can distract the enemy, then there is no need to rely on tanks. The boss fell into the trap left by Lucky. Hen gathered all his strength and attacked him with a fireball. Finally, the orc assassin was defeated. Hen doing it alone for the first time in history. He received 2 titles, one for killing an orc assassin and one for killing him alone. Now he needs to get out of here quickly before anyone comes and sees him. Returning to Sakhalin, she was very surprised that he had coped so quickly. Hen pretended not to be even a little tired, but she didn't believe him. But since it was so difficult for him, she cannot tell him the whole truth about the almighty class. But he still deserved his reward. She gave him another ring with very powerful properties. Even though he didn't learn anything, such a reward was more than good. After she began the story, there were times when the gods sent their creations to fight each other. Each fought in the name of his god, and many legendary feats were accomplished in that war. But there was one among them whose greatness has never been surpassed. Called Invincible, he struck terror into his enemies and won the respect of his allies. But despite his efforts, the war could not end. And he soon realized that no amount of victories would put an end to this event. War of the Gods. Then this hero began to search for an artifact superior to the legendary one, the weapon that will end the war. A weapon of destructive power that can even defeat one of the gods. Afterwards, she asked if he wanted to know more. Hen certainly wanted it, and preferably in all the details. In that case, he will have to complete one more task. He had to go into the cursed forest and kill 1,000 zombies. After watching the quest, he saw that he would actually have to kill a whole 1,000. Sakhalin didn't show it, but deep down he was in complete shock. How long will it take to destroy 1,000 zombies? While he was thinking, his phone rang. It was his brother. He really hoped that nothing had happened to him. But as it turned out, it was Heron, who called to show off her diploma. She was given it in kindergarten for a drawing. Hen thought it was a competition in the kindergarten, but as it turned out, it was a city competition. She took first place, and now her work will be sent to the regional drawing competition. Then they had a real reason to celebrate. Hyun said that there would be chicken for dinner tonight, and Heron's eyes lit up when she heard this. It was a real event for them, because recently he could not afford to spoil the child. After this conversation, 1,000 zombies didn't seem like such a large number. The next morning, Heck was sitting at work watching videos. Hen came and asked to show him what interesting thing he was watching. As it turns out, a popular channel released a video of some rich kid killing a big boss single-handedly. Hen said that the game was completely ruined by the donation. But when he heard that the orc killer had been killed, he realized that they were talking about him. This channel was one of the most popular. The video said that killing such a boss single-handedly was proof that money talks. Apparently this major was using a divine being as a tank. The video had a lot of views. If he had known it would cause such a stir, he would have posted it himself. Maybe I should try uploading the video under the guise of a data leak. Heck said that these donators were just ruining the whole game, but suddenly Hen didn't agree with him. He said that this rich kid could be the most ordinary person. Heck recalled that Hen hated the rich kids the most, and complained every day. But Hen said that was in the past. Now everything has changed a little. The cursed forest is a place where you can't be distracted even for a second. Just one moment and you are surrounded by a crowd of monsters. This is one of the most unpopular hunting grounds. But for Hen, with his skills, it wasn't all that bad here. So far, he has only killed 74 zombies out of 1,000. They should have already crossed 100, but Lucky's nose kept distracting them from that. Just like now, Lucky smelled something again and wouldn't rest until Hen found it. But it was a very valuable black herb. One bush cost about $20. Well, it would be a sin not to collect something like this. Suddenly, Lucky barked again, but in a different way. While following Lucky Hen, I found the body of a man in the middle of the forest. He had never met such NPC characters before. Hen said his name was Midas and he was a traveler from Vega. Hen said that if he needed help, he would do everything. And of course, completely free. He thanked Hen and introduced himself. His name was Yeshi. After this, an exclamation mark appeared above his head. His quest required 100 cursed zombie skins to complete. Hen said that he would do everything without any problems. There is no need to doubt him. One day, one of the strongest players was asked the question of how to level up a hero the fastest. But what he replied was that this required legendary equipment and skills. This will attract strong monsters and easily deal with them. That's exactly what Hen was doing now. After a while, he and Lucky killed 200 zombies. Everything went like clockwork. But now it's time for a break. But as soon as he sat down to pet Lucky, he barked again and ran away. Afterwards, he found a new NPC, Jack, from whom he also took the quest. The cursed forest was indeed a very unpopular place. But even so, it was strange that he didn't meet a single player on the way. But still, it seems that the guild has already managed to try here too. And even on the way to this forest, Hen did not meet a single member of the guild. Suddenly he realized that this was really a pumping festival. Before leaving the city, Hen decided to open his awards. One of them was the skill of mastering the element of fire. Afterwards, he decided to open a unique reward from Yeshi. The unique album of cards has started loading. When Hen got out of the capsule, Heck said that he had been sitting there for quite a long time. Hen said he had a headache and asked Heck to bring some water. It seemed like Hen was going crazy with happiness. Who would have thought that he would get the ballista skill? As the name of the skill suggests, if you don't move, the damage of magical attacks will increase. So you can get a huge effect just by standing behind. Suddenly he checked his email and saw a message from a company offering to buy his video. At first he was surprised to see the price of $100. But upon closer inspection, he was delighted to see that they were offering him a whole 10,000. Of course, he decided that it was just someone's joke. And then I saw that the account was verified. It was a very popular channel. They put quality over quantity. Even their advertising was interesting. Because of this, they gained new subscribers quite quickly. In addition, the channel's main theme is stories about rising stars. If he signs the contract, he won't have to sell the ballista. At this time, the channel's president, Park, was talking to his assistant about this contract. Pak asked him why the hero of this video took a mortal risk. But without waiting for an answer, he said that it was all for the sake of fame. A person who is hungry for fame will never refuse even the smallest opportunity. Now the question is how he will react to their proposal. He will accept it, and then they will meet for lunch and become closer. All in order to present him with a business proposal. Apparently he spent a lot of money on pumping, which means he must be at least a millionaire. At this time, Hen was already using his new skill. Now exterminating zombies became much easier, and soon he completed the quest. Coming to Sakhalin, she asked what thoughts he had during the battle. He said that since the smell in the suspicious forest was caused by the boss, it is possible that the cursed forest is under the influence of a nameless god. This was exactly the answer she was expecting. Now Hen was faced with another simple quest. He needs to find out why this forest is cursed. After that, she just started walking away. Hen was expecting a reward for killing 1,000 zombies. Sakhalin nevertheless agreed. As a reward, he received a skill book. It was a small help to complete the quest. After using it, he began to pray for a good skill. And this time he was incredibly lucky. Hek ran up to Hen and said that the people at the market were going crazy. Hen, of course, became curious about what had happened. He said that a double cast card appeared. We haven't received anything like this for a very long time. But when he heard that its price was around $60,000, Hen almost fell over. After the game launched, prices stabilized fairly quickly. Skill cards were especially highly valued. They were taken apart quite quickly. But there were exceptions. These were skills that were many times better than others. Suddenly, Hen saw that a new letter had arrived in his mailbox. Pak told his assistant that he wanted to raise the contract price to 12,000. The assistant thought for a very long time. But Pak asked what he thought Hyun would do. The assistant said that he would definitely accept the offer. According to Pak's calculations, he spent at least 50,000 on skills. They will simply be able to milk it for a very long time and make a profit. To go after the boss, Hen bought 2 new skills. He really hoped that it would all pay off, because he drained everything he could accumulate during this time. It was a task from that channel to kill the wandering sorcerer on video, a test to see if it's worth something or not. He simply has to kill him alone. Suddenly in the forest, he met members of the guild. They immediately realized that it was the Archmage streamer. Hen decided to give them a stress-relieving potion. It was somewhat similar to coffee, so they would like it. They were hesitant at first, but then they accepted his gift. He also said that he was glad to live in a place where he was protected. He was incredibly disgusted to say it, but it had to be done. 2 potions are the price to pay for the opportunity to calmly kill the wandering sorcerer. But it was only for a week, so it was worth hurrying. After a while, he headed towards the boss. The zombies were killed with 1 hit, so the money invested wasn't wasted. But the mana was quickly running out. He was constantly drinking recovery potions, but there weren't many of them either. Double casting drained all mana at once. But one should not forget that he had his faithful friend. Hen reached level 30 and unlocked skill levels. There he saw the coveted unique skill. He relied on any attack spell. In front of him he saw the skill of strength. It enhanced magical and physical skills. Hen doubted whether he needed it. When suddenly I saw something else, an increase in range. Another squad went out to hunt zombies. One of them said that there was no one nearby and they would not be disturbed. Suddenly a fireball flew at one of the zombies. The guy said that there was definitely no one within a 50-meter radius. No one on their team used such magic. Could this cast have come from a distance of more than 50 meters? Hen was surprised. His radius was now about 80 meters. The strength skill is also compatible with all others. And of course, it increased Lucky's strength. It should never have been sold. Suddenly he became thoughtful. Will it really be so easy to defeat the wandering sorcerer at this level? At this time, that squad was trying to find out who killed that zombie. The guy told me to stop because there was still no one around. Suddenly, a rumor started spreading that the streamer was going to go after the wandering sorcerer. And indeed, Hen started a stream. Today he was going to defeat the boss alone, but just killing him won't be fun. So he came up with a task for himself. Kill him without taking damage. After charging the first fireball, Hen dealt quite a lot of damage to the boss. He understood that the real battle was about to begin. After that, the boss tried to summon the undead. But for this, Hen had his beloved dog Lucky. He sank his teeth into his neck, preventing him from casting the spell. Just as the boss was about to hit him, Lucky jumped away from him. And then he pounced again, which really helped Hen. He must take his chance and corner the boss. He dealt with the small monsters with the help of an electric shot. To attack well, you need to know the distance between him and the boss. Using the dragon's eye, he calculated it. Afterwards, he activated the ballista and used a long throw. Now he was ready to show something that went beyond this level. The throw was so powerful that even Hen himself was surprised. However, suddenly he heard something in the forest. It was a boy from another squad who fell, tripping over a branch. The others started scolding him for making noise. They decided that Hen hadn't noticed them and were happy. The wandering sorcerer's items were expensive, and they wanted to steal them. They were confident that they could strike the final blow and take everything for themselves. At this time, the boss was already in the second stage. Their only chance is the third stage. They cannot miss it. In the third stage, the boss starts summoning zombies. Once they distract Hen, they can finish off the boss in peace. When the boss entered the third stage, Hen began to think. He did more damage than he expected, and reached stage 3 too quickly. And at that very moment he already realized that someone wanted to rob him. But he has nothing to offer to thieves who think only of easy money. It was time to reveal the skill he had been hiding, his 5th spell. And the squad still thought that Hen didn't know about them. Suddenly one of them froze in place. He saw Hen running towards the monster, but he didn't understand why. And then he saw an axe in his hands. Hen hit the boss with it and started cutting off his head. In that case, they couldn't slip through and finish off the boss. But how does he deal so much damage as a mage? Within a few minutes, the wandering sorcerer was defeated. His skill was frenzy, and with the strength buff, the axe dealt a lot of damage. He also turned and thanked the members of the Explorers Guild. Hearing this, the squad became very scared, because if they were caught, they would be kicked out of the game. They thought that Hen would be alone, but it seems they were wrong. After that, they immediately ran away. Seeing this, Hen smiled. His trick with the scarecrows worked. They actually believed that it was the Explorers Guild. Afterwards, he immediately headed towards Sakhalin. He still couldn't believe that his trick worked in the end. He was still able to defeat them single-handedly. He did it and was very happy. Sakhalin asked if he had done what she had asked him to do. Hen answered yes and opened his inventory. From there, he took out a stone and said that the reason why the forest was cursed was in it. Taking the stone, Sakhalin began to transform it into something. Looking at Hen, she said that he was right, and then she gave him some kind of stick. At first, she seemed strange to Hen. Something was wrong with her. And he was right. It was the staff of Sakhalin, a rather powerful weapon. She said that this stone was rejecting her mana. This meant that it had an owner. This means that it is still connected to the real owner. To continue her work, she needed a compass, so she sent Hen to find the blacksmith Zuga. At this time, discussions about further work with Hen continued in the office. They wanted to do everything perfectly so as not to lose him. The channel president thought that Hyun might give them some kind of test, because today's post has changed a little. First of all, the characteristics have changed and new skills have been added. I was especially surprised by the double casting skill. The last price at auction was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then it disappeared from the auction, and it was immediately clear that someone bought it. But could it have been their archmage? June was sure that this was the case. Hen did not hesitate to accept their request, and boldly invested a huge amount of money. Also, when Hen sent them the video, he wrote that he hoped for good results. But why was this said? Perhaps this is a kind of warning: if the video quality is poor, further work will not be possible. June asked to edit the Orc Killer video again. We need to improve its quality and invest money in promotion. If their guest is some kind of savage, then their attitude towards him should be savage. Hen has already reached the Dorito Mines, where he needs to find Zuga. It was a fairly popular spot for average level 40 players. There you can enter a random dungeon, which is updated periodically. But if you're not good enough, you'll always be left behind. If a squad of 6 people finds a dungeon for 5, the weakest one will be expelled. On the one hand, it's sad, but on the other hand, the Dorito Mines are the best place to find strong players. Up until this point, Hen was someone who was thrown out of the squad without a second thought. But now the situation has changed dramatically. Now he was ready to show everything he was capable of. Walking further, he met a gnome blacksmith, who asked him why he had come. Hen said that he came here on behalf of Lady Sakhalin. He needs to create a compass from the cursed stone. The dwarf said that it was quite difficult to work with Sakhalin. She had a very bad character. Hen didn't want to agree, so he didn't say anything. But the dwarf continued speaking, hoping that Hen would agree with him. He replied that it can be a bit of a challenge, but he still gets it done. Afterwards, the dwarf showed him his amulet. It is made from soul metal, which can only be obtained in these places. Hen asked if he needed to find this metal, but the dwarf said that there was no need for this. If it could be obtained, then he would do it himself. Hen was already happy. He really liked this NPC. But suddenly he said that Hen could clear the dungeons so that he would be safe. This immediately upset Hen, because there were 111 dungeons. I also didn't understand why his name was Zuga, what it even meant. And why are there not 100 dungeons, but 111? But in fact, it didn't matter. He still needed to remove the content. Suddenly he saw an exclamation mark appear above Lucky. Hen didn't understand what it was, but decided that Lucky just wanted to help him. First he put buffs on Lucky. He also gave me a black grass potion to drink. He wasn't sure it was enough and was worried about Lucky. Will he be able to kill monsters alone to evolve? Then he decided that he would help him. But suddenly the first monsters appeared. Lucky immediately pounced on him and defeated him very quickly. Hen looked and was very surprised. He had never seen Lucky's full strength. At this time, he destroyed the monsters one after another. Apparently, Hen was too worried. Lucky can do everything himself. After some time, the dungeon was cleared. Lucky killed the required number of monsters and began to evolve. His body began to change and he also gained new abilities. Evolution has ended and it's time to choose something useful, and it seems Hen has found what he needs. Between the two unique skills was a legendary skill of incredible speed. Hen also began to think about whether to rename the channel to Lucky TV. On the street, he started hugging Lucky, and the others looked at him like he was crazy, and Hen couldn't be happier. It took Lucky only 9 seconds to kill the monster. Afterwards, he swore allegiance to Lucky with all his heart. And Lucky barked suspiciously and seemed to smell something. It was the smell of a hidden dungeon. This was an opportunity that could not be missed, and Hen decided that they would go there. He picked him up and carried him. Even Lucky himself was surprised by this, and the two guys just looked at him and left. This dungeon has never been found before, which means Hen can take all the most valuable things. At this time, the video in better quality had already been posted on the channel. Jun really didn't like Hen's nickname, and didn't understand why he called himself simply Archmage. In any case, what's done is done. The speed of gaining views is not bad, since the Battle TV channel is involved. Jun said he thought he uploaded the video there first, and then sent it to them. Their client was not so simple, so everything was possible, and it seemed that Jun already understood Hyun's next move. Suddenly, an office employee burst into his office. Their video included a comment from Prince Asmo himself, Prince of Saudi Arabia. He is the one who spent $1 million to obtain the Archmage class. His channel was very popular for unboxing incredibly expensive items and testing rare skills. He wrote that it was the first time he had seen the object that Hyun uses in the video. Jun said to write to Hyun that they would split the profits 60-40. Where 40% is, that's their share. The assistant asked if this meant that they would have nothing left, but Jun promised that when they put in their best efforts, the Archmage will bring them something very interesting, a new item to make it all worth it. When Hen left the game, Heck immediately ran to him. He said that a new trend had emerged recently. Hen became curious and asked to show him. As it turned out, it was his video on the Rising Stars channel. Views skyrocketed and easily surpassed 1 million. Hearing this, Hen was surprised and asked why this happened. But when he found out that the comment was from Asmo himself, his jaw simply dropped. And hearing that all this was because of an object that Asmo was seeing for the first time, Hen felt ill. A rogue sorcerer's staff that can be obtained in a hidden dungeon. In the game, only one person tried to complete it, but he failed. Hen realized that he had screwed up big time. He left a clue to the main quest. But even so, why did Asmo comment on this video? Someone definitely asked him to find out about this subject. There is a group that is going through the main quest. But suddenly he realized something and calmed down a little. He was 100% sure that the Rising Stars channel would make a deal with him. After standing for a little while longer, he calmed down completely. Everything was fine. Even if someone guessed, they wouldn't be able to catch him so quickly. All he had to do was do it. They had laid their cards on the table, and it was time for him to show his. In the dungeon, the main boss was a mole dog, a very unpleasant monster. If Hen were a normal player, it would be really difficult. He constantly moves through these holes, as his name suggests. But for Hen, who was able to see where he would attack from, it's no different from playing catch-a-mole. Hen was able to kill him fairly quickly and clear the dungeon. Now you need to pick up the hidden dungeon card. As a reward, he was given the choice of a unique skill. Among all of them, he saw a light shield, a good protective spell. Since he had already learned offensive magic, he needed to take care of defense. It would also synergize well with other buffs. But one also couldn't forget about one's dog. Hen began to remember what skills animals had, and among all of them I found the acceleration skill. With him, Hen could try to run a marathon. This skill summoned a wind fairy that increased the speed of movement. Hen decided to leave the game for a while to think things over. Returning half an hour later, he looked at the cost of this skill. It was around 6 million won, which was very good for Hyun. This was easily enough to last for a month of life. It would be a good investment in the future. This concluded the preparation for the marathon. Low-ranking dungeons can be found throughout the Dorito mines. If you compare them to track and field, it's like sprinting. This is why many players use them as a location for a marathon. The record was set by Kojiro. He was the Emperor of the Sword, a class as rare as the Archmage. He set this record a long time ago, but no one has ever broken it. Even for Hen, it's almost impossible to beat him. It would be nice to at least get closer to him. After that, he used all the skills he could on Lucky. His strength had increased many times over, and now he was ready for battle. Hen started recording and greeted his viewers. Today he will try the marathon in the Dorito mines. However, today he will not do it alone, and his faithful dog Lucky. It was his debut, so he had to try hard. Hen used all his skills on him and Lucky rushed into battle. He instantly pounced on the monster and killed it just as quickly. The speed was good. The tempo was just excellent. As soon as Hen was slightly distracted, the monster was already ready to attack him. But Hen only dodged his attack. After all, as he said, Lucky does everything himself. As expected, Lucky can easily clear this dungeon on his own. It was much faster than Hen expected. Suddenly, he decided to look at the timer. And I saw that it seemed like he was about to set a time record. Just as he thought about it, a notification about clearing the dungeon appeared. Lucky was very pleased with himself, but something was wrong. The marathon timer hasn't stopped yet. After leaving the game, Hen sat on a chair and thought a lot. Heck asked if he was okay, as he didn't look very well. Hen replied that he had been having problems with his heart lately. Heck told him to take care of himself, because who, if not him, would keep an eye on Heron. But in fact, Hen is feeling fine. He just actually set a time record. He was very lucky that there were fewer monsters than usual. I wonder how the rising star will react when he sees his recording. At this time, everything was great on the channel. The statistics were only growing. June sent Hyun another message changing his share. The assistant asked if they wouldn't suffer losses in that case. June said he was just throwing out a line. The Archmage might mistakenly think that he is being treated like a fish. Jun was very worried that he might be offended, so he increased his share. Suddenly, they received an email from Hen. He sent them 2 videos at once. After looking, they both thought that it might be a provocation. When Hen left the game, he was surprised that no one was there. He decided that everything was in the break room and went there to check. When he entered, he saw that for some reason everyone was glued to their phones. As he got closer, he saw that everyone was watching his video. He was glad that it was posted on the channel so quickly. Heck ran up to Hen as soon as he saw him. Hen asked why there was such a fuss around the video. Was it really Asmo doing it again? And as it turned out, he guessed right. Even so, he didn't believe it at first until he saw it for himself. In this video, Asmo saw the Sakhalin ring. Apparently Asmo was really targeting Hen, which scared him a lot. Heck, seeing Hen's condition, became afraid for his friend. Hen didn't know what to do if Asmo continued to watch and comment on his videos. Then a lot of people would pay attention to him. If this continues, a real disaster could occur. It was not safe to stay in one place. It was necessary to leave the Dorito mine immediately. Hen asked Heck to prepare a capsule for him to return to the game. Hen really felt bad and asked Heck for something sweet. Heck searched around his workstation for a bit, and I found 2 grape candies there. Seeing them, Hyun felt even worse. He thought that Hyuk had thrown them out a long time ago. Heck said the main character in the novel he was reading ate them while he was playing. After that, Hen entered the game. When he approached the dwarf, he had already been waiting for him for a long time. He thanked him for a job well done. Thanks to Hen clearing the mines, the dwarf was able to collect enough soul metal, and he made the pendant. Now all that was left for Hen to do was test it. Hen was also eager to activate it, and then it was necessary to move on to Sakhalin. As soon as he thought about it, she herself appeared in front of him. As it turned out, Zuga invited her here. He said that the pendant was ready, and he called her to insert the key. After that, she put her hand into the portal, and from there she took out a stone, and it was the key. She gave it to him and told him not to do anything stupid. Zuga said that everything would be fine. After all, they had made a soul contract for this purpose. Hen felt the tense atmosphere. Apparently Zuga and Sakhalin really didn't get along. There are circumstances when NPCs have to cooperate with each other. The main quest is the way to get the almighty rank, and Hen was getting closer to it every day. And for this, he needs the help of different NPCs. As soon as Sakhalin inserted the key, the pendant began to fly in different directions. In this way, he pointed to the north. After Zuga gave this pendant to Hen, the quest was completed and Hen increased 2 levels at once. And as a reward, I also received a choice of new skills. But he decided to collect the award later. Now he decided to look at the characteristics of the pendant, and they surprised him very much. This item was level 40, but already stronger than legendary. Sakhalin told him to step where the pendant indicated, and so that everything is done in the shortest possible time. Another side quest has been added to the main quest, and the reward for it was a legendary book of skill cards. He had to do everything to complete the mission. He couldn't get nervous either, otherwise he would be thrown out of the game. Afterwards, he decided to take the reward for completing the previous quest, and among all the skills, he seemed to have found that very card. Guardian skill. Hen was incredibly happy about this, how lucky he was. Their editor, who had finally finished editing the video, came into June's office. They watched the video again and everything was great. Probably no one expected that a dog could break a fencer's record. June asked what the statistics were in the video. As it turned out, there were already about 2 million views, and they continued to grow with each passing hour. A divine being has broken a record that stood for a very long time, and there is no better topic for discussion. The video was done very well considering the rush. The editor said that making such a video in one day was a real miracle. June watched the video again and said only 2 words, 10 million. He was confident that this video would get even more than 10 million views. Guardian is a skill that makes defeated monsters follow you. This is a special skill that can only be learned by an Archmage. To be honest, the skill itself is not that convenient to use, but once you master it, everything will be different. The main difficulty is to comply with the terms of its use. Monsters with a level significantly higher than the players cannot be assigned as a Guardian. You also need to catch 100 monsters of the selected type within a limited period of time. In other words, it is almost impossible to make a strong and rare boss your Guardian. The reason why Guardian Asmo became so famous is because of his ability to use player items. Keeper Asmo has a ton of legendary items. Hen could choose a Guardian for himself and use him as a tank. He had previously considered buying the Golem's summoning skill and using it, but it was terribly expensive. Well, now it was time for him and Lucky to go. Hen used his speed and strength and they ran. When Hen came out of the dungeon, it seemed like they were already waiting for him. Someone was paid a lot of money to keep an eye on Hen, but isn't 3 people too many to catch one magician? But it didn't concern them if they give you money, you just have to do your job. The easier it is for them, the better. Suddenly, Hen and Lucky started running away quickly. Could he have smelled something? But they hid well. What could make an Archmage class player run around like that? What should they do? Go after him straight away, or follow him quietly? While they were thinking, something happened that they did not expect. Hen noticed them. At that very moment they realized how much they had screwed up and rushed after him. They had to catch up with him at any cost. Meanwhile, Hen and Lucky had already run away to a sufficient distance. The pendant increased its speed significantly, so they definitely wouldn't be caught. In it, he doesn't have to worry about being chased. Hen petted Lucky and was ready to move on. On to the next destination. At this time, the Archmage's video had already been posted. On the cover was Lucky, who was the main character in the video. Hundreds of thousands of comments have already begun to appear under the video. Most of them were, of course, positive, and many also jokingly laughed at the fact that the fencer lost to the dog. The Archmage simply stood to the side and watched what was happening. But this was not the only video. A new one was posted next. In it, Hen said that if someone recognized this item, he would tell them about all the others. At this point, Asmo left a comment again and even donated $10,000. The new video also created a huge stir. No one thought the Archmage would respond to Asmo's comment under the previous video. Some even thought that he and Asmo had conspired to get views, and Hen couldn't stop smiling. Since he had earned quite a lot, it was time to spend a little. It's time to invest in promoting his videos. If everything had gone according to plan from the start, he would have bought the Golem summon. The Guardian tank wasn't that important. There were so many skills in the shop that Hen was at a loss for what to choose. But suddenly he decided to look at the price of summoning a Golem. And he was very surprised by the price. It was too low. At that moment, he didn't hesitate and immediately pressed the buy button. But when he clicked, he saw that the item was already sold out. Hen was a little upset. He should have thought faster. Everything was fine on the channel, just as June had expected. But it was also a big headache. The assistant asked what June was currently worried about. Suddenly, he asked in response what they were doing for the Archmage. The assistant said that they were editing the video and uploading it to the channel. Interrupting him, Jun asked if only they could do this. Archmage, a real media mogul, and they are just temporary content providers. In order for the Archmage to want to renew this contract, they need to show their good faith. It's time to unleash the secret of the Wharton School, a private business school in America. The assistant asked what kind of secret this was. It was all quite simple. It was a regular bribe. Hen came to the swamps, a place where almost everyone experiences great difficulties, at least due to the terrain. There were swamps everywhere. The water usually reaches ankle level, but in some places it reaches knee level. Even the damned forest was better than this place. However, the slowdown also applies to monsters. Therefore, this was only to Hen's advantage. Due to the low speed of the monsters, he doesn't even need to run anywhere. Hen charged a fireball and attacked the lizard with it. The rank of the fireball was higher, just like the rank of the ballista. When monsters are this slow, finishing them off is easy. What Hen was most afraid of was that he would stain his clothes. After all, they were very expensive. Lucky looked very sad. It was obvious that he was tired. Hen said that he would be able to rest soon. Even if he has to kill 1,000 monsters, he will do it with pleasure. Lucky pointed him to a large hole. Coming closer, he saw that it was a lizard's nest, a hidden dungeon. But wait, do we really need to kill all the lizards? The main problem was their huge numbers. Is this really a solo dungeon? Hen decided that now, more than ever, he could use a keeper. Having killed the 100th lizard, he had the opportunity to summon it. Now it's time to try to summon him. Activating the skill, he began to summon his lizard. The summoned lizard was much stronger than the previous ones. Immediately after his appearance, he knelt before Hen, because now he was his master. Suddenly, Hen saw a question mark above him. It was strange. He wasn't an NPC, or it was something else. Does the Keeper have hidden quests too? The Guardian also has a loyalty system. Afterwards, Hen decided to test it in battle. As expected, he did quite well. It took an average of 3 minutes and 33 seconds to catch a lizard with all buffs. Now it was necessary to find out how much stronger he would become if he increased his devotion. Hen told him that for now he should just stand on the defensive and not attack. The Guardian bowed his head in a gesture of submission. Hidden condition for raising loyalty: defend for 33 minutes. If you play as usual, you won't understand this. Of course, for Asmo, who can learn all kinds of skills, the Guardian is useless. But Hen will be the first Archmage to understand the loyalty system. Finally, 33 minutes passed, and loyalty increased to level 8. Hen praised him for his good work, and then he allowed this lizard to be killed. This time he did it in 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Afterwards, the lizard knelt down and asked to be given a name. Hen was surprised. He didn't know that he could be given a name too. Then he decided that his name would be Gold. In translation, a gold bar, solid, fit for its keeper. He was deeply touched by Hyun's choice and thanked him. Afterwards, he asked to give him a new order. He wanted to prove that he was much better than a stupid animal, hinting at Lucky. But Hen was even a little amused by this. If you increase your loyalty level, you can give various orders. Yes, this skill exceeded all expectations. But perhaps that's how it should be. After all, he is legendary. Suddenly, Hen realized that he had already assembled a good squad. Of course, now the golem was missing. It was necessary to buy it. The next morning, Heron woke him up. She said that if he didn't get up now, Dad would be very angry. Suddenly, a notification came on Hen's phone. He didn't understand who was writing to him since the morning. But when he took it in his hands, he was amazed the channel director gave him the skill of summoning a golem. Immediately, Hen got out of bed and ran away without even having breakfast. At this time, they actually decided to hunt Hen. The girl wanted to send a mercenary after him. From the last video, she realized that he most likely had a key. They just needed to know for sure if he had the key to the main quest. If this is really the case, then you can't just let him go. Even if the plan fails, they won't lose anything. But who would take on this? Especially after the rumors that he is in cahoots with Asmo himself. But she said the reward for this would be as much as $100,000. Sniper Lola from the 7 Stars League will definitely decide to do this. He will agree, but it is also worth asking other players with a suitable level. The guy said he would contact them and find out everything. And it's definitely worth adding that this is a request from Emma, the manager of the Abyss Guild. When Hen entered the game, he couldn't believe his eyes. He actually had the ability to summon a golem. He fell on his knees and began to thank the director for such a gift. Now he needed to show something special to keep being sponsored. For example, a solo kill of the swamp boss, the diamond alligator. But just a single kill is not interesting. You need to break the time record. But before that, they need to clear out the lizard's nest, which contains 2,000 more monsters. After being summoned, the golem began to destroy the lizards one by one. Thanks to the secret quest, his stats have increased incredibly. Moreover, the monsters are not targeting him, but the golem. He could calmly concentrate on the aim and attack enemies 100 meters away from him. With this, he will definitely have no problem killing the boss alone. Finally, after 8 hours, they cleared out the entire nest. Lucky and Gold started arguing again, but Hen calmed them down. After all, they were on the same team. Suddenly, he saw that the pendant was leading him somewhere. Looking in that direction, he saw a staircase. Climbing up it, he found an egg there. This was no ordinary egg, but a dragon's egg, and hatching required the power of a nameless god. Could this be a new divine beast? But he will find out everything later. First, he needs to complete the quest. Now they need to go to the city of Vega. As they walked, Hina was already waiting. No matter how long you hide in the hunting grounds, you'll end up back in the city anyway. And to return to it, they need to take this particular road, because there is no other here. Together with Hen, he saw the divine beast and guardian. As expected from someone whose head they are willing to pay $100,000 for. The mercenary exhaled to concentrate on the shot. When I released the arrow, I thought that would be the end of it. Well, Gold managed to put up a shield and reflect the arrow. If Hen were an ordinary player, he would have been very confused by the unexpected attack. You never know where or when the next arrow will come from. However, he was prepared in advance for the assassin's arrival. That's why I deliberately provoked his attack. Apparently, the mercenary thought that Hen would be easy prey in the swamp, but he wanted to show that relying on terrain can be useless. The mercenary was surprised that Hen stopped the surprise attack, but he did not stop attacking, because he continued to rely on the terrain. He was 120 meters away from Hen. Magic shouldn't be able to reach this far. That's exactly what he thought until he saw the fireball. which arrived completely unexpectedly and hit the target right on target. The blow landed right on the mercenary's head. When he opened his eyes, at first he didn't understand where everyone had gone. Having begun to realize everything, he decided to leave as soon as possible, before it was too late. Suddenly I was distracted by blue eyes glowing in the bushes. But it seemed it was already too late, because Hen was behind him. The ice arrow dealt massive damage and left very little HP. Hen was pleased that everything went as he wanted. But the mercenary didn't like it. He didn't understand how he had suffered so much damage at such a low level. But while he was thinking, Lucky had already attacked him. Everything worked out. Now it was necessary to check this player's number to understand who he was. Hen decided that he would personally ensure that something like this did not happen again. But when he saw his nickname and number, he froze for a moment. It was Rail. He couldn't believe it was that same Rail. Sniper Lola from the 7 Stars League. Hen realized that if he went too far, the entire guild would turn against him. Hen remembered him, because he himself hunted with him when he played on the old account. Everyone found out about him thanks to the popular guild. And then he realized that he seemed to have big problems. He couldn't take responsibility for killing his character. So Hen immediately ordered Lucky to let him go. Golduhen said the same thing. Stand and don't attack. You can't just let him go without any plan. So Hen immediately asked if he was a member of the 7 Stars League. Rail asked why he decided so. Hen told him not to cover up. He knows it's his second account. Rail was very scared by what he heard. Hen said he didn't think he'd have to tell the drunkard everything. Rail didn't understand if Hen knew the master of their guild. His name was Diani. He was so dangerous that most people wouldn't even go near him. However, his friends call him a drunkard because of his love for drinking. Hen said that he could now tell him that Rail was attacking people from a second account. Hen asked why he was doing this and who sent him. And Rail understood that he seemed to be in deep trouble, and was not even able to respond. Hen asked directly why he was taking orders to kill players without the guild knowing. According to the guild rules, this was prohibited. But Rail only managed to squeeze out one word, sorry. Hen asked what he wanted to achieve from him. Rail understood that if everything came to light, he would be buried alive. Hen said they would probably have to kill him to avoid any problems. But suddenly he changed his mind and said that he would cover for him. To be honest, he didn't want to get involved with the 7 Stars League either. Hen said he deliberately hides his real account. He has a very big plan. It's not just for nothing that he works hard and raises levels. Hen decided to agree that Rail had failed the mission, and Hen had escaped without anyone knowing. But what can Rail offer in exchange? For Hen to spare his skin. He also added that if he contacts him again, he will definitely not leave alive. Afterwards, he asked her again what she would give in exchange for silence. If he doesn't want to, of course, then Hen can just kill him and take the items. Rail asked if Hen would definitely not tell anyone. Hen extended his hand to him and said that he was a man of his word. Then Rail thought a little more and made up his mind. He took his bow out of his inventory, and he offered it to Hen in exchange for keeping the secret. After that, he brought his changes again. Gold said he was amazed by his master's nobility, but suddenly Hen fell to his knees. He couldn't believe that Rail had fallen for his bluff. Thank God it was the 7 Star League. What he heard about their master Diani played into his hands. In any case, he has some of the items from the Vig set. Of all the items in the set, the bow has the best performance, and the minimum cost starts at $40,000. If you sell it, you can live for several months. But wait, he doesn't need the money now. Why doesn't he keep the onion? If the mage has a bow, he will die quickly. But Vig's bow is something else. He had a lot of abilities, for example. He could charge magic into arrows. Also, after each successful hit, the next arrow will follow the target. But he couldn't use the staff and bow at the same time. Just then he remembered about telekinesis. He went into his inventory and took out a staff. Now he could easily switch between his staff and bow. Telekinesis will make changing weapons much easier. Back in town, all attention was turned to Lucky. Almost everyone knew him, and behind him walked Hen, who had also managed to become very famous. Many saw him for the first time and were very surprised. But what kind of warriors were walking around him? Who are these? Are they really team members? To be honest, Hen himself didn't know what was happening. The governor of the city of Viga was looking for him. He was the first one to be accompanied by NPCs. I wonder how quickly word will spread about this. But now it was necessary to find out what the governor wanted from him. Entering there, he found himself in a huge hall. Viga and Sakhalin were already waiting for him there. Viga shook his hand and said that he had wanted to meet him for a long time. Sakhalin asked if he had found that thing. Opening his inventory, he took out a dragon egg. For this, he received the legendary skill book. But when he wanted to give her the egg, Viga stopped them. Sakhalin asked what the problem was, but the fact of the matter was that there were no problems. Hen found very easily what they couldn't find. Therefore, they do not need to look for someone to work with because they already have a responsible person. Viga was glad they were able to find one. He spoke highly of Hen's skills. He also wanted Hen to continue researching this egg. It seems that now Hen understands. Sakhalin wanted to keep the egg and explore it, but Vega wants him to do it. This means that NPCs have their own quests. Vega said that apparently Sakhalin doesn't trust Hen very much. Therefore, they should check whether he is able to protect the egg. To prove it, he must defeat the master of the swamp. Hen didn't mind. He was going to kill him anyway. In addition, the quest had a good reward, as well as a secret condition. When killed alone, Hen will receive the white Vigi staff. He was much stronger than usual. Hen accepted this task without hesitation. But before he left, he opened the reward for the previous quest. He had high hopes for the mana recovery skill. With it, he will become much stronger. And it seems that luck has smiled on him again. He saw the dragon mana skill, a very strong recovery skill. But suddenly Lucky started barking. Looking over there, Hen saw the dragon fever skill. He immediately thought to himself about $1,000,000. This is a buff skill known as dragon fever, but it was commonly known by another name. Nobody officially sold it. The reason why they started calling him $1,000,000 was Asmo. He said he would give $1,000,000 to anyone who found this skill. A short-term but very powerful skill designed for raids. Hen couldn't afford it even if he sold the house. Having taken it, he was incredibly happy. After leaving the game, Heck ran up to him. He said he had incredible news. Someone spread a rumor that the Archmage was going to capture the city of Vigi. Hen knew that Heck would quickly spread this rumor, so be it. Hen didn't listen to him anymore and just returned to the game. He didn't care about rumors. The problem was with those who were doing something. People began to pursue him, ready to hire even Lola. He understood that killing the boss would not be easy. In such a situation, he could only continue playing. At this time, Jun gave Hyun 2 more skills. The assistant asked if Jun thought this was just a simple kiss-up. Jun turned and asked who was sucking up, but he didn't actually deny it. He is an important media figure, so we can't miss him. Afterwards, Jun decided to involve him in his script. Now the Archmage is preparing something grand. After the place where he was, it was a swamp. This means that there will be no video recording. This is definitely going to be a stream, and Jun did everything he could. An employee came into his office and reported that the Archmage had written to him by email. There he asked if it was possible to start a stream from their channel. Then, without delay, Jun ran into the office and ordered everyone to get ready for the stream. At this time, Hen did not understand why he was being sent skills. There's no doubt that Jun wants to support him, but still, the most popular content for the game was streams. There was a lot going on with live streaming in the early days. As soon as the stream started, everyone ran to somehow interfere. But no one touched the 10th guild, because they killed those immediately. Public executions were popular among them. Having entered the swamp, Hen looked around. 2 players were pursuing on one side. On the other hand, there were 3 more. Many of them wanted him dead, so he must show them their difference in strength. There were 20 minutes left before the boss appeared, and all this time Hen kept an eye on his pursuers. All game content is posted exclusively through the WarTube platform. This doesn't bother most people at all. It's banal because WarTube is very convenient. They work closely with the game. Therefore, you can start streaming in a couple of clicks. Before the stream, he saw that the director was also sitting there. He was very surprised by his presence. Hyun felt a bit awkward communicating with him, but he managed. The broadcast will start soon. I wonder how many viewers there will be. Hyun already has a video with 1 million views, and some popularity too. So there will definitely be 1,000 spectators. However, as soon as the stream started, a huge number of people came there. In the first seconds, there were already more than 1,000 of them. Hen greeted everyone. Today he will fight the diamond alligator. However, this battle won't be all that fun. So he set out to break the time record. Most people supported Hen, but there were also those who did not believe in his strength. Observers also continued to stand behind the trees. The diamond alligator was the master of the swamps. The body length is more than 10 meters, and there are precious stones on the back. Depending on the color of the stones, the boss's movement pattern has changed. If you take away 30% of his HP, he will go into the second phase, and the color will change every minute. But when they turn black, he will float under the water. Hen's strategy was to skip this stage. Suddenly the stones turned red. After that, the boss started to attack first. Now it was time to begin. At this point, it dawned on Emma that Lola had failed. But she wasn't even very upset. They just needed to test the waters. Of course, she didn't expect Lola to fly out so quickly. Then the guy asked what he would do next. She said she would have to bring in the rabble. She offered a reward of $10,000. The guy asked if she was going to continue playing. But before she could answer, she was told that the Archmage had started streaming. When Hen used the Dragon Fever skill, the comments just poured in one after another. And when they saw Vigi's bow, everyone was even more shocked. Hen loaded his bow with a fire arrow, after which he shot the boss. The arrow hit the target right on time. Now they will fly there on their own. Hen loaded the ice arrow and activated the ballista, and then he began to charge all his attack spells into arrows. Nobody understood where such great damage came from, especially against the diamond alligator. The golem also helped him well and held him back. Yes, Hen's method is unusual. It would be better to save mana and spend it only when changing phases, but now his enemy is not only the boss, but also those who came to disturb him. They themselves were amazed that Hen was causing such enormous damage. They didn't even know when to attack him. Hen could kill them at any moment, because he has already planted his bodyguards among them. At that moment the stones turned black. They had only a minute left to fight. Therefore, it was necessary to come up with a plan urgently. If you rush things too much, nothing good will come of it. At this time, gold got involved. Lucky circled around the boss, and it also dealt good damage, and the golem held him so that he wouldn't go underwater. The fire arrow was loaded. The dragon's eye is launched, the ballista is activated. If you remove another 3%, the boss will enter the third phase. As he thought, his pursuers would simply watch. Or they are waiting for the right moment when Hen's mana runs out. The boss's HP was already at 20%. Then Hen guessed that he could do it in 7 minutes. But if he finishes that quickly, it won't be interesting. Then he decided to slow down a little. All the arrows hit the boss right away. Hen said he would spend 10 minutes instead of 7. But what he would do during these 10 minutes was unclear. What does he plan to do if he has already used up all his mana? Hen asked what would happen if he set an unfathomable record. After all, just playing is already boring. After that, he loaded the arrow and shot it into the air. Right at that moment, Asmo donated him $1,000. And then the arrow flew and hit the boss. Hen was surprised that Asmo came so early. Hen said it was time for them to change the angle and zoom in a little. Then he came even closer to the boss. The golem continued to hold him so that Hen could attack without any problems. And just now the third phase has begun. The alligator was able to defeat the golem and knock it to the ground. After that, he started hitting him with his tail. It turns out that the golem is eliminated. It has a low rank and nothing can be done about it. Manahena has already dropped below 20%. And he was only glad. It was part of his plan. From the very beginning, he intended to keep his pursuers in check. Seeing that the tank was dead, they decided that they could now attack. Another girl started to dissuade her. After all, there was an alligator there. Many on the stream decided that Hen had already lost. But then Lucky challenged him. Now the alligator was aimed at him, not Hen. Seeing Lucky, the alligator rushed at him. A hen used dragon fever. The pursuers couldn't believe that Hen was deliberately pretending to lose. Hen used a few more buffs and was ready to finish off the alligator. After that, he fired arrows with all the spells he knew. But even this boss wasn't enough, so Hen loaded another arrow. When she fired, she hit it there. She was supposed to. The stones on his back went out, meaning Hen had defeated the alligator. Now all that remains is to wait for the audience's reaction. At that moment, there were more than 30,000 people watching the stream. Little by little, small donations began to arrive from people. Hen laughed a little, because he said he would finish in 10 minutes. However, since everything went according to plan, he completed it in 7 minutes. Hyun apologized to the viewers for everything ending so quickly. And then he saw that Asmo had donated him $10,000. Hundreds of comments followed. One of the mercenaries decided that Hen and Asmo were in cahoots, and that it was all planned. It turns out that they were simply dancing to Hen's tune. Surely these two had devised a plan to keep an eye on them and the other killers. They thought he only had money, but he had brains too. Therefore, deciding that they didn't need any problems, they quickly left. And Hen began to say goodbye to the audience. He also wanted to curry favor with Jun, and to do that he needed to make a good impression. Hen said he will continue streaming on this channel, so everyone should subscribe to stay up to date. Afterwards he asked Lucky to say goodbye. And that was the end of their stream. By the end of the broadcast, there were 45,000 people watching. It was amazing. The number of donations and viewers exceeded all expectations. But Jun wasn't happy yet. He listened to Hyun's last words again. Putting down the tablet, he clapped for all the staff and praised them. One of them asked if the last words were not a mere formality, but Jun saw something more in them. Now the streams will be exclusively on their channel, so there is no need to worry about competitors anymore. Now it was time to move on to the next phase. They need to establish a symbiotic relationship with the Archmage. This is a win-win deal, so it needs to be done as quickly as possible. We need to do something that the Archmage will definitely like. The city was already in full swing discussing the latest stream. Asmo himself came to the stream and donated a lot of money. And what's more, Hen broke the time record. There were also those who believed that all this was done only because of money. But even so, this record is very cool and the Archmage is not as simple as it seems. Anyone with the means is capable of such a thing. But the Archmage showed what a showman means. Suddenly they saw the one they had just been discussing. The Archmage appeared in the city of Viga, and the rumor spread very quickly. But what brought him to the Vigi estate? Everyone was interested, but no one dared to come up and ask. But Hen himself was very nervous before meeting with the city governor. Everything was going according to plan, and that was good. But if he had made one mistake, not only the stream, but everything would be destroyed. Looking around, he saw a huge crowd and decided to greet them. He turned around and thanked everyone who had been at yesterday's broadcast. He received many invitations from different channels, but wanted to clarify something. At this stage, streams and videos will only be on one channel. But the crowd didn't seem to care and didn't understand what it was all about. And Hen understood that this was clearly not what they wanted to hear. It was just a greeting. He just wanted to please Jun. Even if it's not anything special, there's nothing wrong with showing your respect for the channel. And after that, he decided to tell them something interesting about the award he will soon receive. When he said this, he was referring to the white staff of Viji. Hearing this, the crowd was a little surprised no one had heard of such an object before. The Viji staff is part of a set worth around $30,000. Hen said that he would be the first to receive this item. It will showcase all its features through the channel. At this time, Emma was listening about June, a student at the Wharton School. She asked if her assistant had met him before. As it turned out, he studied with him in the same group. This was good, because if they were going to dig for the Archmage, they needed to get closer to June. The assistant didn't want to talk, but this was a very bad idea. Emma asked what he meant. June was a completely different person when he was at Wharton. He was good at identifying people's strengths. That's why he won't tell anything. It is obvious that the Archmage has the key to the game's scenario. But the only problem is to get this information. She couldn't allow some boy to step outside the bounds of what was permitted. Her thoughts were interrupted by a call from Merlin. She asked Emma to meet to talk face to face. When Hen entered, they were already waiting for him. Viji praised Hen for a job well done. Still, killing a swamp monster alone is a great feat. Suddenly Hen noticed that Sakhalin was nowhere to be found. The governor said that she entrusted all matters to him and left. Then Hen asked what he should do. To begin with, as promised, he will be given a reward. As the master of the city, he is obliged to reward Hen accordingly. Hen couldn't wait for the staff to be given back to him. Viga put his hand under his cloak, after which he took out an ordinary staff from there. His statistics were incredible, but Hen expected something different. He wanted to get the white staff of Viji as quickly as possible. However, Viga handed him a regular one and that was it. Hen immediately fell into a stupor. Is his reward really just a staff? Viga continued to hold him, waiting for Hen to greet him. And Hen didn't know what to do. He had already promised everyone. Could he have made a mistake? Viga asked if Hen was happy with his award. He tried to force a smile, but it didn't work. Then Viga said he had prepared something more special. Clutching the staff in his hand, he began to transform into another. Hen just watched and hoped that it was what he thought it was. And indeed, the staff turned white, just as Hen had imagined. He had already given up hope, but still got it. Having seen the most important characteristic, he was speechless. It was an opportunity to cast more spells. Viga said he used it when he was a child. And from this moment on, the staff, of course, belongs to Hen. With this gesture, he wanted to show that he highly appreciated his merits. And then he asked Hen to listen to one of his requests. At this moment, Hen was ready for anything. Another quest was added to him, but he decided to watch it later. After all, he was not mistaken and really received it, a new item that no one else had received. The point of the staff's option is that it intersects with others, meaning that Hen could also use double casting with it. And this will already be a triple spell. The first player to receive a +1 option was Asmo, but his weapon could only be used from level 150. This is what made Viji's white staff so much cooler. Suddenly, looking at Lucky, he saw an exclamation mark. There was exactly the same one above Gold's head. Hen's next location was the Forest of Giants, the most difficult location for hunting. Once Hen completes the quest, he will say goodbye to the city of Viji. Next was the Kingdom of Tunga, which could only be reached by using distortion magic. The game had a good balance, which prevented advanced players from hindering newcomers. But for now, it didn't matter. It's a good thing Lucky and Gold's quests came before they used distortion magic. But the problem is that they need to kill 5,000 monsters. The boss of the Giants' Forest was Tagar. Usually it is in a state where it is indistinguishable from an ordinary tree. So to speak, in a state of camouflage. How long will it take to kill 5,000 Tagars? I also had to do a stream about the White Staff. It was an incredible amount of work. But first, Hen decided to start with the main quest. At this time, another squad was walking through the forest, completing their quest. One of them shot at the tree to knock down an acorn. The arrow hit the target, but it's not that simple. It turned out to be no ordinary tree, but a Tagar. This made him very angry and he attacked people. But they were covered by a tank, which, to be honest, was already tired of all this. He was already planning to buy a new character card and change his profession. Hen walked through the forest and heard the cries of that squad. He was quite cheerful, because unlike the others, He could see hidden information. Gold said that surprisingly they didn't encounter any monsters. But that's because Hen was avoiding it because he saw the location of the main quest. A voice came from behind the tree, ordering Hen to stand still. Hen introduced himself, after which the man left. Only it wasn't a man, but an elf named Tamaru. He said that he had heard a lot about Hyun and his talent. Hen even felt a little embarrassed, but everything he said was true. Tamaru was surprised that Hen remained unharmed, since there should have been many monsters attacking. After that, he gave Hen a book, a gift from Vigi. Hen accepted it gladly, extra skills wouldn't hurt him. But before he could open it, Tamaru told him to follow him. Hen was a little surprised but didn't argue. Following Tamara, he walked along the path of the elves, and even received a title for it. He really enjoyed collecting titles. Tamaru asked if Hen knew anything about the Tagars. He replied that they were monsters disguised as trees. But everything was more complicated. Because of a strange force, the trees turn into monsters. And recently, new variants have appeared among the Tagars. Hen was a little surprised and continued listening. The Tagars began to appear in the form of shattered monsters. Tamara had never seen anything like this before. Fortunately, this phenomenon occurs only in a few areas. Hen realized that this seemed to be the point of the quest. Suddenly he realized something. He asked Tamara if Tagar is divided, then how many of them there are. He replied that there was a case when Tagar was divided into more than 10 parts. Hen pretended that this might cause difficulties. Tamaru asked him to deal with it before the number of mutated Tagars increased. They isolated some parts of the forest. There were more than 500 Tagars there. Hen tried not to smile, but he was having trouble. He immediately agreed, because then he could immediately complete Golden Lucky's quest. At this time, Jun's assistant bought the 3 skills he requested, so he said that lately the secretaries have been spreading rumors. Jun didn't know anything, and so he asked him. The assistant said that the Abyss Guild is digging under their Archmage. Jun said that the Archmage was a bird of even higher flight than they thought. Suddenly he received a call on the phone. It was Jackie. He hadn't called for a long time. Jackie joined the Abyss Guild, so that's probably why they had their eye on him. Compared to others, he is on a completely different level. He is not a member of any of the top guilds, but he already has a lot of fame. For such a large guild to try to contact the Archmage through Jun, there must be only one way. But the Archmage definitely doesn't intend to cooperate with any of the top 10 guilds, so they need to hold on to it even more tightly. The assistant asked what he was going to do. Jun asked to send Hyun a letter, since he signed a 1-year contract with them for streams and videos. Then they will split the profit 9-1. The next day, Hen suggested that Heck order something to eat. Of course he didn't refuse, especially since Hen was paying. Seeing where Hen was going to order food from, he asked if it was too expensive, but Hen wasn't listening to him anymore. Heck asked him what happened. Hen replied that he needed to get into the game urgently, his employer had called. Entering the game, he sighed in disappointment. The same skills were sent to him. But the most interesting thing is Jun's letter about profit sharing. They probably want to push him into showing off the Vigi Whitestaff. In this case, he has no choice. As a test, he will hunt monsters that have also never appeared before. And all this is live. Hen started the stream and greeted the viewers. He came to keep his promise and show the staff. And to demonstrate it fully, he will attack a special monster. At first they saw an ordinary Tagar, but suddenly he began to separate, and this already surprised the audience. Hen said that he would stop responding in the chat for now, as he would be busy with the battle. In one hand he made a fireball, in another icy one, and then he created ball lightning. The triple cast really surprised people. The check has been completed, now we can attack. But since he showed everything he wanted, he decided to end the stream. But the audience began to persuade him and even donate. Realizing that they were interested in fighting, he began to fight. For the audience, he had to kill a new monster. He destroyed it quite quickly. Afterwards, he told Lucky and Gold that the next monster was behind him. The audience couldn't understand how he could tell the difference between ordinary trees and monsters. But Hen had a secret of his own that he wouldn't tell anyone. He began to use spears and arrows to attack, and he also quickly defeated Tagar. The only thing that really motivated him was the 9-1 return. This time he must thank the president properly. After some time, he dealt with all the Tagars nearby, and the stream could definitely have ended there. Obviously, killing a lot of monsters will quickly get boring. He said that something very interesting would happen very soon. Afterwards, he thanked Jun and ended the broadcast. Jun asked me to write him a letter telling him that he had done a great job. Both the new monster and the new weapon were perfect. And of course, Jun predicted all of this, which is why he proposed a new income division. Ever since he learned that the Abyss Guild was looking for him, he had a premonition of something like this. So, they have genuine talent coupled with the potential to become a star. The assistant asked why he ended the stream so early. Jun replied that it was all about Asmo. If Asmo wasn't watching, there was no point in continuing. Now they need to pull themselves together and edit the video. From this moment on, They will be with the Archmage for a whole year. Later, Hen started streaming again with hunting, and there were an incredible number of spectators, more than 50,000. Someone in the chat wrote that one thing is clear, Hen is completing the quest, which no one had ever gone through before. And Hen understood that he became very popular, of course, when a top 10 guild was looking for you. But he didn't regret it one bit. He didn't initially plan to just enjoy the game. How suddenly it finally happened. Gold began to evolve. His loyalty level increased, and he could also choose a new ability. At that moment, a huge number of Tagars arrived. Hen shouted at Gold to concentrate on the fight. Lucky also rushed into the attack, and Hen helped them with magic. Lucky destroyed the last Tagar, after which it also began to evolve. His body changed and he became even more like a real beast, and Hen finally reached level 50. After this, the War Dragon granted him a new ability. Now it was more appropriate than ever. But first, Hen decided to unlock a new ability for Gold. Gold started asking Lucky something again, but Hen wasn't paying attention anymore. After the opening, he hopes for something very good, and as it turned out, it was not in vain. Gold had quite good luck. He gained the skill of gigantization. It's usually wielded by tanks, so Gold could be the first Guardian to have this skill. But they received more than just gigantization. Loyalty is also a skill. Once Hen reveals the Guardian skill, the views will skyrocket. Lucky started barking, also asking to open his skill. Upon opening it, a lot of good skills appeared in front of him. But there was one among them that Hen did not believe in. It was a battle cry skill, also known as a war howl. Its essence is to strengthen all allies in the team. Rappo was the first to show it, his beast doing so in the middle of a large-scale battle with another guild. After this skill, the Immortal Guild ended the battle with absolute victory, and now Lucky had the same skill. Hen really hoped that he would be lucky too. With this hope in mind, he accepted the dragon's reward. But when he opened it, his face changed. As usual, he is the only loser. Among all of them, there was only one unique skill. It was called the Fiery Step. By the way, it was pretty good, but how to use it? As the name suggests, the idea is that whatever Hen steps on will catch fire. If he is ambushed, the attacker will suffer. But it used up a lot of mana. He couldn't use it at the moment. He needed to get his mana restored by any means necessary. Suddenly he saw Tamara again. Most likely he came because Hen completed the quest. Tamaru praised him. He didn't even think that Hen would deal with everyone. Viga was right. He combines first-class craftsmanship with modesty. After Tamara put his hand under his vest, and he took out a unique book of skill cards from there. Hen already liked this very much, but he didn't rejoice in advance, so as not to be disappointed. Of course, he doesn't choose cards at random, since he sees everything. But even so, the card can be anything. Hen opened the book and seemed to be in luck. Surprise and intense joy were evident on his face. He got a skill, a mana restoration field. It worked like a ballista. When Hen didn't move, his mana would regenerate. Now he didn't have to worry about her. Hen asked what he needed to do now. Tamaru said that while Hen was fighting, he was surveying the area. Hen realized that he would most likely be fighting a boss. Hen asked first if Tamara wanted him to fight the king of this forest. This is exactly what Tamara wanted. Recently, Viltgar has been changing under the influence of an unknown force. But suddenly Hen realized that he was only at level 50 and his chances were slim. Tamaru said that it was just his request, but Hen couldn't refuse, so he accepted the task. Viltgar himself was level 70. Moreover, it was not simple but mutated. As a reward for the quest, he will receive a legendary skill. Hen had never encountered such big monsters before. Without his abilities, there was no way he could have defeated him. How can you even give something like this at level 50? It takes a team of 10 people to defeat a monster of this size. And not just players, but real professionals. This battle will be on a whole other level. Maybe mana won't bother him, but in the end, potions are also needed, and they require money. As he walked home, he thought he was spending too much. And now even more is needed for preparation. Taking out a loan to play would be very strange. Suddenly his thoughts were interrupted by a message. It was a receipt for a money transfer from the channel. Hen completely forgot, but today is payday. And looking at the phone, he was shocked. He received $26,000. Now the situation is changing a little. To start with, he decided to send a thank you letter to June. However, a simple thank you seemed too simple to him. Then he started typing, but a girl bumped into him. Hen was at first confused, and then began to apologize. Apparently the girl was in a hurry and didn't see Hen. He asked her if everything was okay. She tried to say something, but then they saw their things lying on the road. They decided to raise them, and they leaned over at the same time. Their hands touched each other. The girl was very embarrassed, and then hiding her face, she quickly ran away. She was somehow strange. Her name was Soul. She always sits at home because of social phobia. But in the game, everything is different. In virtual life, she is known as the Muse of the Abyss Guild. A little later, she entered the game. Merlin contacted her immediately. She said she received information from Emma. She was told to keep an eye on the Archmage. According to Emma, he is very dangerous because he threatens the existence of the guild. Saul heard about him and took everything into account. If even Emma spoke about him, then he really is dangerous. However, it didn't concern her in any way. The contract with the Archmage was being discussed in the office. He was the first player under contract with their channel and was bringing in good profits. Suddenly, June said that it was possible to celebrate. The employees were very happy about it. Suddenly, a message came from Hen. The assistant didn't see anything special, just gratitude. But for June, things are not so simple. Hyun wrote that he will soon repay them with special content that will surprise everyone. They were indeed in for some very interesting content. Hyun-jun took all of his words as a message. June asked to call the video processing team, and they will celebrate later. They had a lot of overtime work ahead of them today. The next day, everyone watched the Archmage's new video. It was about the white staff of Viji. The quality was incredible, like watching a movie, and the characteristics of the staff were even more surprising. I wonder how much it would cost if put up for sale. Hyun was surprised that the video came out so quickly. Are they really calling him for new content? If you go to the boss like this, you'll spend 20 million won on potions. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something. This was a comment from Asmo. He told Hyun to hurry up and start the broadcast before he left. Hen had no other choice, except for instantly entering the game and starting the stream. When they entered the game, they found themselves in a wild forest. Hen immediately felt an unknown force. Viltgar had already sensed it, so it was impossible to leave the forest. It was about 500 meters away. This was enough to calmly begin the broadcast. This monster was of incredible size. Last time, Hen needed to be level 180 to defeat a monster of that size. He also had a lot of HP. But in any case, such a monster has a weakness, namely, the speed of movement. This boss will also have 3 phases. The very last one is self-destruction, when there is less than 10% HP left. The preparations were complete. It was time to begin. Hen took a deep breath. He was still nervous, and he immediately greeted the audience. Today he will hunt Viltgar alone. Many people didn't know who it was, so Hen decided to just show it. Seeing him, those who did not believe in Hen appeared, but the majority, of course, supported him. Viltgar was far away, but his size was still intimidating. It's time to begin. Immediately, Hen drank the yellow and rainbow potion. And after that I used the restoration field. Having charged the fireball, he decided to check the damage. The monster was far away, but for Hen that wasn't a problem. The damage was small, but he continued to bombard him with all his spells. Following the balls came spears and arrows. Many thought that it was impossible to attack from such a distance, but Hen proved otherwise. He also buffed strength a lot. The damage wasn't that bad, but it was fun to watch. But alone, it was very powerful. When you see such a monster for the first time, it cannot help but arouse interest. Suddenly, Hen ran out of mana. Then he took out a potion of mountain grass. No matter how the game is, mages always lack mana. Suddenly, Viltgar began to approach, but Hen had no plans to run away. The monster was already right in front of him, and Hen didn't even flinch. At this moment, Lucky challenged Viltgar. That's why Hen wasn't particularly worried about the boss. Viltgar, of course, turned around and headed towards Lucky. He also used cropping, and from its roots, the Tagars began to emerge. Hen finally reached the second phase. Lucky was on the other side, so he couldn't help with the Tagars. But for this, Gold was with him. He will stop anyone who touches Hen. Hen said that now Golga could let loose. Then he applied gigantization. And it was at that moment that Asmo came in and immediately donated $10,000. He couldn't believe that the Guardians could use skills. Hen was glad to see Asmo on the stream. Now he needed to show all his power. Hen cast multiple spells at once. Everything was going just perfectly, exactly as Hen wanted. The atmosphere is tense. It's time to have some fun. Asmo donated another 10,000 and said he would do more if he could have some fun. Then Hen called Lucky to him. He immediately went down. But why? Since Viltgar would now follow him. But it seems that this is what Hen needed. Gold said he would protect Hen. Asmo wrote that Gold talks a lot. Hen just smiled because Viltgar was already here. A huge monster stood right in front of him. Many even began to worry about Hyun. But everything was under control. Hen opened his inventory and put the staff in there, after which he took out an axe, which was the one he wanted to finish off Viltgar with. Suddenly, everyone heard some strange sound. It seems it has begun, the final phase. Self-destruction phase, the monster exploded with great force. The explosion was like some kind of bomb. The trees swayed like toys. But where is Hen himself? Thank God he's okay. Gold protected him and Lucky. Hen didn't know what to do, it was very bad. He wanted to finish the fight with physical force, but the destruction phase. Hen could only laugh at the camera. In fact, nothing terrible happened. Now no one will understand for sure that Hen knew about the third phase. Viltgar was destroyed and Hen received several titles and awards. It's time to end the stream. By the end, 120,000 people were watching the broadcast, an absolute record. Hen was very pleased with himself. Although the climax wasn't entirely successful, the stream was a success. Asmo donated another $20,000 and said he didn't regret watching it. Merlin talked to Emma about everything that was happening. Emma was confident that everything was going in their favor. Merlin was a master of the Abyss Guild. Emma said that there was no longer any need to invest in the bounty on Hen's head. He made himself a trophy. A coveted trophy that guarantees glory to all who track it down. Moreover, he exposed many of his weaknesses during the stream. The power of fire attacks is incredible, but there is not enough mana. The healing field is not suitable for fighting players, as you simply become a target. And they also confirmed that he is not under the protection of the guilds. If his identity becomes known, even playing the game will be difficult. So all that remains is to get the script from the game. To do this, you need to prepare guild members. They can start over with new characters and get him from low levels. Emma had no doubt about Merlin. At this time, Hen was still standing in the same place. He praised Lucky and Gold. He couldn't have done it without them. It's time to look at the awards and titles. Give me the title for the single kill of Viltgar plus 20 to all stats. But the most interesting thing is the reward from the boss. Opening his inventory, he saw only 2 of Viltgar's treasures. He didn't even know how to react. He thought he had forgotten to pick something up, but no. In fact, there were only 2 items for such a huge monster, and also of a unique rank. Gold said that he would punish everyone who upset his master. But unfortunately, this is not possible. All that remained was to open them. And the first one he received was a staff from the root of Viltgar. He immediately thought that he didn't need it, and hoped that he could sell it. Indeed, it was up for sale. Hen was already imagining how he would sell it and get a lot of money. Suddenly, I decided to look at its characteristics. It was something incredible. This is not a staff, but a real treasure. At that moment, Tamara arrived. He was surprised that Hen had dealt with Viltgar. At this time, Hen was hiding the staff in his inventory. Now the most important thing awaited him. Main quest reward with legendary rank. Hen had no doubts about his success, considering how much money he had invested. Suddenly he felt something. Suddenly the power of the nameless god began to attack him. Tamaru didn't understand what was happening to him. Lucky and Gold were also very scared. Hen's blood pressure has risen sharply. It's a wonder he hasn't been thrown out of the game yet. In this state he could not do anything. Is he really going to die like this? Suddenly he saw a golden glow. This glow began to absorb the power that attacked Hen. As it turned out, it was an egg. The egg completely absorbed the power of the nameless god. Hen couldn't believe it. He was finally saved. He survived only thanks to this egg. And there was some hatching progress on it, although only 3%. Hen was still trying to comprehend everything. Tamaru said that Hen was in possession of something unknown, and he advised me to talk about it with Vega. At last he came out of the wild forest. He hoped that he would never return here again, and Vega was waiting for him at the exit. He asked what had happened to him in the forest. He said that when he defeated Viltgar, the power of the nameless god began to attack him. If it weren't for the egg, he would have simply died. Perhaps this is done to annoy the players. Vega said that he received a letter from the kingdom of Tunga. Strange things are happening there. Monsters appear that no one has ever seen before. And also the power of the nameless god attacks people. Everyone who met her died, but Hen stands alive after the attack of the nameless god. Hen asked if Vega wanted him to investigate. Of course, that's what Vega was getting at. Once Hen arrives at the kingdom of Tunga, someone will meet him there. After that, he handed Hen the legendary skill card book. Vega said that he would be briefed on the matter there. The quest was to meet the person who sent the letter. It was necessary to head there as soon as possible, but before that, he discovered another treasure of Viltgar. From there, he received another staff, only with different characteristics. It gave mana regeneration and it was very good. Thanks to telekinesis, he could easily use everything at once. Even with a unique rank, such items can cost more than legendary ones. Hen was thinking about what kind of weapon he should use in the kingdom of Tunga. The main monsters there were centaurs. What if he changes the appearance of his keeper? Hen decided that he would do a stream and show off the items and then sell them. Now you need to open the skill book. He fell to his knees and began to pray for the dragon mana to fall to him again. He asked Lucky to howl for him. And of course he couldn't refuse his master. Then he opened the book. And it seems he was lucky. He saw exactly what he was looking for. Dragon mana. He was incredibly happy about this. The chance of it falling out was very small. He was already ready to demolish everything in his path. Gold said he expected nothing less from his owner. And then he asked where they were heading now. Hen said they needed to hunt. The maximum level in Tunga Palace is 100. When he moves there, he will immediately be in contact with high-level players. We need to make the most of this location while we can. Hen has improved his level a lot in the last few days. All his skills and items were very good. but his mana was lacking. Suddenly he overheard Heck telling something to the others. The talk was that the top 10 guilds had united and were looking for the Archmage. Hen, of course, didn't believe it, and decided that it was just another rumor. But suddenly he added that whoever records his murder on video will receive $100,000. Hen almost choked on his soda when he heard that. Heck said they did it because the Archmage provoked them. Hen didn't understand that he had started these rumors and why he was hearing them for the first time. If Heck is the one spreading all this, then he is ready to kill him, despite their friendship. He was just about to go into the store when his phone rang. Who could call at such an hour? Picking up the phone, he saw a call from his brother. He just called to ask how things were and to chat a little. Hen said that he had been paid his salary and that he would come to them soon. Today he will even return earlier. Just as he hung up and was about to put the phone in his pocket, the following happened. Right in the passageway, a girl knocked him down again. Hen didn't understand why this was happening to him, why everyone was constantly bumping into him. Suddenly he saw that his phone had fallen face down. He was very scared, but hoped that he was okay. But this time he actually crashed. The girl came up to apologize and said that she was in a hurry. Suddenly he realized that it was the same girl he had already encountered. After telling this story to Heck, he laughed for a long time. And then he said that bumping into the same girl could be a message from fate. But Hen replied that he was just a loser. And then Heck said that he had new information about the Archmage and the guilds. They will fight very soon. They say the Archmage is farming in the Giant's Forest to prepare for battle. Hen asked where he got all this from. As it turns out, the best community for the game is writing about this. But Hen didn't really care anymore. He just told Heck not to believe in all that nonsense. Rumors of an imminent battle also began to circulate in the office. June told everyone about this. The assistant asked if it could be just a rumor. June replied that they would become true. Sooner or later they would. Most likely the Archmage wants the guilds to be hostile towards him. June was already thinking about how many views the battle between the Archmage and the Abyss Guild would get. The Archmage is obsessed with becoming a star. Therefore, a conflict awaits him in the kingdom of Tunga. And they jump into the last car of the train. Therefore, they should pay for the fare. The assistant said he didn't think the Archmage would use everything they gave him. But Jun still insisted that he read the name of the skill that needed to be purchased. June asked what the reckless driver needed. And without waiting for an answer, she said, "Airbag." During this time, Hen continued to hunt the Tagars. Fireball's rank has been upgraded again, and he continued to improve his level. The last monster was defeated, and Hen finally reached level 60. The War Dragon gave him a gift again. After that, Hen went into his inventory and put on the Black Tagar set. But he also shouldn't forget about Gold. He also needs good clothes. He put exactly the same set on his defender. Gold was delighted, especially because his master gave him the clothes. Suddenly Lucky started barking. Apparently he also wanted to get dressed up. But unfortunately, it was not possible to equip items on it. Lucky was very upset, but Gold, looking at this, just smiled. Hen finally decided to accept the reward from the War Dragon. Opening the book, he hoped for any legendary skill. And he was very lucky. His new skill was recycling, something Hen had never seen before. The effect of this skill is to restore HP by reducing mana, or vice versa. Obviously, this skill is for very emergency situations, but when to use it? Hen was already thinking about buying some kind of defensive skill to make things safer. Suddenly, he remembered about the Mana Shield. This is a skill that creates a shield of mana, reducing its value every time the shield absorbs damage. But what if we add recirculation to it? The shield will absorb damage and spend mana, and its HP will be restored a little. But the cost of this skill is over $15,000, which is quite a lot. Hen said they were done for the day and left the game. He returned only the next day with good news. As soon as he entered the game, he immediately showed Lucky and Gold his new skill, Mana Shield. It was all thanks to Director Jun, who once again gave a great gift. Now it was time to head to the Kingdom of Tunga, accessible only by passing through the warp in Viga City. It's the main arena for intermediate players. It is surrounded by 4 palaces to the north, south, east, and west. The first thing players see after passing through the warp in space is the Western Palace. When Hen came to the city, he immediately attracted attention. The first thing everyone saw was the divine beast Lucky, who was walking ahead. And behind him is Hen himself, known as the Archmage. The residents were afraid of what he would do now, to show from the very beginning who was the boss here. Someone also said that he came to declare war on the kingdom. But Hen had completely different plans. He called the man to him, but he was so afraid he couldn't even move. The rumors were apparently true, considering he was accompanied by NPC guards. The man continued to stand, not knowing what Hen wanted from him. But Hen didn't think anything bad, especially about declaring war. He just wanted to take a picture with everyone. As in all games, newcomers are no match for veterans. They are assisted in every possible way by guilds that have already gained authority and fame. Therefore, The magician who started streaming became incredibly popular and began to be discussed everywhere. No one cared about his personality. He showed a path that no one had ever walked before. And of course, the rumor that the Archmage had appeared in the Western Fortress spread with incredible speed. Half an hour later, Hyun finally finished his photo shoot with fans. There were also those who asked for a photo with gold. He didn't like it at all, but at the owner's request he stood and endured it. Also, everyone noticed the new set of Hyun in gold. Gold said that it was a symbol of loyalty that Hyun gave him, and Hen stood there a little tense the whole time. He was worried about the guilds that might actually attack him. So far, everything was going according to his plan, and he only hoped that word of his appearance would not reach the guild masters. After all, completing the main storyline quests is more important to him than conflicts with guilds. They were a real thorn in the side and really got in the way. One squad was watching Hen the whole time, and they were surprised that immediately after his appearance, he went to take pictures with everyone. Now they had to decide what to do with him. It was Snicko's guild. They needed to deal with Hen before the others. Hen decided that he would stay a little longer, because more and more people were coming to take pictures. By evening, he was finally able to go out for a good hunt and to assess the local monsters. But Snicko's guild was already tracking him in order to attack. One of them came out to Hyun, pretending to be his huge fan, and for a very long time she asked him to take a photo with her. But Hen understood everything at once. He knew her name and what guild she was from, and he saw some other things too. She had a lot of buffs on her. Did they really decide to kill him right there? Hen said that of course he would take a photo with her, no problem. She also noticed that he had changed his equipment, and he replied that it was much more convenient to beat up people like them in this one. They certainly didn't expect such an answer, so how could he understand why they came? Not even that, he didn't guess, but knew everything from the very beginning. They deliberately moved closer to him. After all, they thought that he wouldn't be able to do anything to them, no matter his level. He's a mage, and they're weak in close combat. Hen was just defending himself the whole time, waiting for the right moment, and they had already begun to attack him with full force. But even together they couldn't land a single proper blow on Hen. Suddenly the girl realized something. Hen really does nothing, but why? But looking back, they immediately understood everything. Surprised that Hen had figured out their plan, they completely forgot about Lucky and Gold. Their ambush was also destroyed, which is how Hen knew everything. And then Hen asks if he managed to surprise them, as if he was just playing with them the whole time. Indeed, that was the case. The mana shield absorbed all the damage received. And also, Hen, unexpectedly for everyone, started a stream. He said that he came across Snicko's guild, who wanted to kill him, but they failed. Due to their ambush, Hen changed his battle strategy and temporarily became a tank. Some of the mana spent will be converted into health, and thanks to the new equipment, mana regeneration was very fast. But that was not all. He said that if they succeed in killing him, then he will invest $100,000 into their guild. In most games, mages are useless in close combat, and of course this game was no exception. So Hen knew in advance that they would try to get closer to him. But he didn't want to defend himself with the help of Gold and Lucky. You never know what might happen to them. In that case, the best solution was to take the tank's place yourself. Hen asked if Snicko's guild really paid weaklings like them. They didn't understand how he even knew what guild they were from. Suddenly the guy heard someone's roar. It was a very angry Lucky growling, who was already ready to attack. And just a second later, on Hen's command, Lucky eliminated the girl and Gold the guy. It all ended pretty quickly, and the audience waited to be kicked out of the guild for such a disgrace. Looking at them, Hen said, 37 points. No one on the stream understood at first, but as it turned out, it was their rating. Now it's time to collect loot from them. He will be suspected if he takes the best things. So he took Tung's sword. Looking into the distance, he saw more killers, but they were just standing there and were no longer going to attack. Then Hen can calmly continue to follow the plan. The broadcast won't end here, so you can put on a show. Since they came to see the magician, he will show them real magic. As Hen said, the monsters there were centaurs. It can be difficult for a mage to kill them, as they are very fast. But Hen is not a simple magician, so there will be no problems. As the centaur ran towards him, he charged with ball lightning, and then he threw it at the monster with all his might, after which she began to throw fireballs at him. And he defeated the first one very easily. Chat was surprised at how easy it was for him to do it. And Hen just continued, casting spells one after another. He gradually destroyed the centaurs. Even Asmo wasn't as good at this as Hen. Those who stood and watched did not understand how he was causing such damage. Hen killed 90 centaurs without drinking a single potion. But his weakness was his small mana reserve. After killing the last centaur, he decided to end the stream. Even though he was asked not to do it, he decided that showing off his strength was boring. After the stream ended, she asked Gold to come to him. All this time he killed centaurs for only one reason. so that Gold could finally change his appearance. Now Gold has become much more reliable. We should test his abilities. But first you need to go to the Western Fortress. We must continue the quest while the pursuers are gone. After some time, they finally arrived. Zagara, the lord of the Western Fortress, was already waiting for them there. Hen was very embarrassed, but he greeted Zager and said that it was an honor to meet him. Zagara said that his soldiers were dying because of an unknown force. But as far as he knows, Hen was able to survive it, and so he asked him to sort it out. Of course, Hen himself didn't know much about it. But then Zagara promised him a reward that Hen could not refuse. In addition to the main reward, there was also an additional one, namely the Master Grimoire. This is a grimoire that allows you to raise the rank of one skill to master. It takes a very long time to raise a skill to master level, but a grimoire does it instantly, and the condition for receiving it was to never die during the execution. At this time, the plane was flying to Miami Airport. Sol sat and looked thoughtfully out the window. She wondered why they had called the meeting so urgently, and whether something had happened. Suddenly, she received a notification that almost made her drop her phone. It was Hen who wrote this. He told her not to worry about the broken screen, and she was incredibly ashamed, and she said that she would pay back later. Finally, she arrived at the headquarters of the Abyss Guild. All the participants gathered at the table and waited for the beginning. The heads and even high rankers were here. The entire core of the guild was gathered. Suddenly, Merlin came out and greeted everyone. She introduced herself and was ready to begin. Today, everyone was gathered to solve a problem troubling their guild and the game's ecosystem. Moments of Hen's battle were shown on the screen. Everyone started talking among themselves. No one understood what they wanted from them. One girl asked if they were really so afraid of one player. Now Emma entered the conversation. She said that this player is destroying the game's ecosystem, which has been built for a very long time, and she had a suspicion that he was intruding into the game system. Alpha Company has almost completely stopped moderating the game, so we must carry out justice ourselves. Now everything will be more than serious. From this moment on, the Abyss Guild announces a reward for the Archmage's head. One of the men said that because of their high levels, they would not be able to go after him. But for this, the guild will help everyone level up their second characters. This attracted the guild members much more. Sol understood that if Emma wasn't lying, then it was worth trying. But what an unpleasant feeling it was that did not leave her. She couldn't figure it out, but something was clearly wrong. At this time, Hen had already reached the barrier rift. Even Gold said he felt very uneasy about this place. But that's precisely why this place is great for farming, because no one comes here. The rift opened and they walked inside. Upon entering, Hen immediately felt unwell. The viewing angle was limited by the wind, and the sound was very muffled. Fighting in such conditions is not the most pleasant thing to do. Still, the difficulty of the main quest is indeed very high. It would be nearly impossible to clear this place alone if it weren't for Hen's abilities. Gold said that the enemies are already approaching. It was a good opportunity to look at the possibilities of Gold's new look. Hen began to attack without delay. The zombie centaurs weren't very strong, so there weren't any problems. Hen didn't forget about Lucky either. He was very helpful in drawing the monster's attention to himself. Meanwhile, Hen was preparing spells. Golds became stronger and also dealt with them easily. One by one, they destroyed the monsters. The wooden spear was a very powerful weapon. Hen activated the dragon's eye, after which he dealt a crushing blow, and after the kill, he leveled up. The experience here was much greater, and no one will be able to hunt him here. One of the mobs was glowing, and Hen immediately realized that it was a quest one. There was no need to kill him yet. At this time, Emma and Merlin had a conversation. There were no bugs in the game until now, so how could the Archmage manipulate the system? Emma had an idea, but everyone saw his broadcast. Therefore, it was impossible to attack him now. They need to support the guild members, and also convey to them that the Abyss will not abandon its own. Emma also prepared something for the battle. Small Pack rating. Merlin was surprised to hear this. This was a rating created by player Small Pack. He is involved in visualizing various statistics in the game. Besides, his channel had a lot of subscribers, a whole 52 million. By tapping into the competitive spirit, his channel has become a definitive benchmark for all players. If the Archmage appears in the rankings, he will definitely attract the attention of players. Merlin found this strange, since the Archmage was only level 70. The rating included players no lower than 200th, but Emma took care of it. She just paid him and soon Small Pack will put something out. The long-awaited 999th episode was released on his channel, in which the Archmage actually showed up. Everyone was amazed that he was there, but Hen wasn't at all happy about this. How could this even happen? Nobody understood how he got there with such a low level. But that's precisely why it was incredible. Hen was afraid that now other guilds would be interested in him too. Getting into this rating means that you have great potential hidden within you. This is how you can fly to the sky and become famous. This is the shortest way. Hyun thought Jun had taken care of it. Who else could do such a thing except him? There was no time to relax any longer. I had to get back to completing the quest. At this time, the news reached Puck, but he has nothing to do with it. The channel owner doesn't listen to him at all. He had known him since school, but it all didn't matter. The Archmage clearly did something and attracted the attention of the most powerful guilds. But how did he do it? He dealt with the group from Snicko's guild, so the average guilds didn't even think about attacking him. And Jun thought it was his plan. He deliberately made himself a target. After all, now he will definitely not go unnoticed. Even while standing still, he made it so that the victims who had raised him up would come after him. So they need to live up to it. This will be another bribe, but this time with a letter. It's time to ask the Archmage for a favor. At this time, someone was killing the initial mobs. It was strange, because these players were much stronger. Apparently they were all waiting for the Archmage to appear in order to kill him. They were ready to catch him even at the cost of their honor. And their names can also be included in the small pack rating if they catch him. But still, there are even players sponsored by top guilds. One of them was Avath from the Scaff Guild. He didn't care about anyone. He came for the Archmage. He must make up for the defeat in a few days. Alat from the Red Snake group came to him. He also heard the latest news and came for the Archmage. It's not easy to get here, but what won't you do for fame? Among ordinary players, discussion and anticipation of the Archmage's appearance began. Avat was ready to kill anyone who would prevent him from dealing with the Archmage. Suddenly, someone from the crowd seemed to see the Archmage. From a distance, it really did look like him. Avat ordered the archers to check if it was really him. They definitely saw Hen, Gold, and Lucky, but suddenly they disappeared somewhere. Well, how is this possible? They were two ordinary centaurs. How did they spawn here? It was strange. They couldn't have appeared so suddenly. And almost everyone definitely saw the Archmage. But it wasn't that simple. Hen had thought of everything. At the same time, he also conducted a private broadcast. Everything went exactly according to his plan. Hen was already starting to go crazy. High-level players from the best guilds actually came after him. And all because the number of subscribers on these channels has grown very quickly. Just think, he didn't even think that they would actually hunt him. High-ranking players hunt in beginner zones. It feels like bullying, so everyone points fingers at them. After this, they will be criticized, but they don't care. They finally gave up their pride and conscience to catch him. If you think about it, you can't succeed in this game alone. But how lucky he was that he got chain lightning. There is simply no better skill for fighting groups. But he will still have problems, regardless of the outcome. The guilds will turn against him, and this will affect the progress of the main quest. Then all he had to do was meet them as befits an Archmage. Hen was pleased that many players had gathered, and it didn't just make me happy. These freaks didn't even think that so many people would gather here. They don't even want to unite to catch him. So this situation is nothing but a great opportunity. While they are busy sorting things out with each other, he will have time to increase the distance. They can't keep up with him, but his shape is a little off. Hyun thanked the audience for keeping his secret, but he began to rejoice too soon. Someone from the audience finally exposed Hen, and he had to run away. Avat couldn't believe it. It sounded like complete nonsense. But who said that the Archmage is hiding from them? It will not be possible to find out, but it will be even more interesting this way. Now it was possible to end the private broadcast. Hen cancelled the polymorph, and then began his regular broadcast, which was immediately attended by 30,000 people. The show, Catch It If You Can, has begun. He just started running away with Gold, and of course they started chasing him, but it seems they were unsuccessful. They didn't understand how a magician could be so fast. The healer and tank immediately gave up. They didn't have a chance. Hen saw this and his mood only improved. Avatu received a message that Hen was currently on air. He realized that the Archmage wanted to make them look like fools. If he loses, he will be humiliated by everyone. Suddenly Hen started whistling. Avat thought that Hen was just making fun of him. When suddenly I realized something. What if Lucky attacks from an ambush? If he attacks him while he is buffed, he will not survive without a tank and a healer. And then the game will definitely be over for him. He stopped, but nothing happened. And Hen just kept running. Did he just outsmart him? Seeing that no one was running after him, Hen stopped. Hen asked the audience if they had ever seen Tom and Jerry play tag outside of the cartoon. When Lucky came running, Hen told him that he had done well. Now, if things don't go according to plan, all he can do is run. Besides, the number of viewers has decreased. Maybe he should just kill Avatar. The audience encouraged him to do this. But Hen wasn't too keen on doing it. It won't give him anything. They won't even compensate him for the polymorph. Hen opened his inventory. It contained traces left by the advance party. Hen said he would end the stream for now, and I was about to finish it when the following happened. Asmo came onto the stream and donated $10,000, and immediately after, he donated the same amount and wrote that he was expecting a show from him. There were more than 130,000 viewers on the stream, so it was impossible to end. Apparently, he had no other choice. Besides, Asmo donated 11,000 and said that he would donate 1,000 more every minute. He still didn't want to do it. But for the sake of the audience, he was ready to overcome himself. Besides, Asmo set the atmosphere. We can't let him down. Suddenly, he saw the effect of teleportation. This was Zager's vassal. Hen was very surprised to see him here. He told him that he had come to see Hen off, as Zagara was waiting for him. It was very good. Hen said he would have to end the stream because of a quest he was on. Afterwards, he ended the stream and teleported away with his vassal. He found himself in the Eastern Watchtower. Zagara praised him for his good work. Hen said he found some clues in the restricted area. Zagara was surprised by what Hen brought him. He had heard of Hen's skills, but he never thought they were like this. Afterwards, the knights brought out 2 grimoires. Hen said he simply did what was required of him. He never thought that he would receive the master's grimoire. Roughly speaking, a skill grimoire can be obtained for money, but you can't buy a master's grimoire for money. Reaching master rank in a skill is only possible by reaching at least level 150. Even if you learn a skill at level 10 and use it constantly, you still need level 150 to reach master rank. But getting it alone is almost impossible. Hen decided to leave the grimoire until the right moment. He decided to quickly take the quest and move on, because after seeing that show, the pursuers won't give up. Besides, he will be kicked out of the game in an hour. 9 hours later, after the reboot, more than 100 players will gather on the Golden Fields. Hen asked Zager what he should do next. He replied that according to the clues, his people were attacked by an unknown person. Hen asked if he needed to be found. Zagara replied that such a task could only be entrusted to him. He had to go into the restricted area again, and the reward this time was the Ring of Tan. It was a hidden reward, and apparently this ring was incredibly powerful. Hen was told that he would be sent back via teleportation, and he asked Zagar to tell him the characteristics of this ring. But before he could finish speaking, he found himself in Golden Fields. Apparently he should have asked a little better about the ring. But in any case, if it is given in the plot, it cannot be bad. This time it was moved quite conveniently. Suddenly Lucky started barking. As it turned out, a crowd of people had already gathered around them. They were all waiting for the moment when Hen would return back. Hen decided that fighting now wasn't the best idea. So I just walked into the restricted area. As he thought, they were still in groups. It was very dangerous outside. The forbidden territory turned out to be quite safe. It was necessary to finish everything as soon as possible. So he took out the legendary grimoire. Opening it, he hoped for something good. To make sure he had luck, he even got down on his knees and started praying. He was shown a card, which he immediately selected. His heart sank. Gold also hoped for the best. And as it turned out, it was all worth it. Now those freaks who are chasing him are definitely finished. As in other games, the higher the level of monsters, the stronger they become. But among them, there is a factor that increases the difficulty of the gameplay, the use of ranged attacks. Mages with interruptible casts will inevitably have an increased risk of being attacked if they are hit. They need more time to cast powerful spells. And the Indomitable Will that Hen had was very useful. While Indomitable Will is active, spell casts cannot be interrupted. This skill will definitely help Hen in battles with players. There were also a lot of ranged skills, but they were incredibly expensive. So for now, Hen couldn't afford them. Now we need to focus on the current situation, but how to find the quest monster in this field. But after thinking for a while, he realized that there would be no problem with this. Literally a minute later, this unknown person came out himself. According to the conditions, Hen didn't have to defeat him, but simply attack him. Suddenly, he wondered if the forbidden area might close if he completed the task. It would be nice to put it aside and level it up a little more here. At first glance, there were already more than 100 people there. But even more could come. Hen didn't want to think about that. If you add the money you earn and get rid of a couple of things, then he will be able to buy a cast in motion, which cost $40,000, and also raise the level to 80 in 4 days. First you need to prepare thoroughly, and then you can go out. At this time, a huge number of people gathered in the field. At first glance, their number exceeded 1,000. Did they all come to capture the Archmage? 3 days have passed since Hen disappeared through the portal, and the number of people has only increased. Last time his show was pretty good. June called it a game of tag. And then he added that there was no fun in it. One of the employees disagreed with him, because that stream had broken through all the top charts. But June added that it would be boring if he repeated it again. That was true, but what would he do next? Even if the content is similar, new conditions need to be added. Same show, catch me if you can, only now he's going to fight. The time has come for the Archmage to fulfill their request. The discussion of the Archmage was in full swing. No one could guess his plan, which made the interest grow even stronger. Many also wanted to go to catch him, but the level did not allow it. Also, many were sure that defeating him would not be a problem, because he is a magician. At this time, Hen was sitting and looking at his phone. The skill auction should start soon. After selling the things, he had $43,000 in his hands. Even if the price rises above 40,000, you still have to buy. Hen already hated this game. All he did was kill monsters and level up. He finally reached 80, but there was no joy. The cast in motion was sold for 80,000, but what's the point? Hen could only hope that this skill would fall to him. He prayed to the war dragon, because without this skill, he would not be able to get out of here. He accepted the reward and began to wait. There were a lot of cards, but how to choose the right one? Cast on the move was a unique rank skill, but unfortunately, he didn't see a single unique skill. Suddenly, Lucky noticed something. Hen was so upset that he didn't even pay attention to him. And then, raising his head, he saw it, the legendary skill. His eyes lit up instantly. Legendary skill, Shockwave, due to the paralyzing effect. This is one of the best skills against players. This should help him a lot. Of course, it was not a cast in motion, but with an indomitable will and a shockwave, he can even defeat a team of 7. Then he came out and decided to start broadcasting. When suddenly I saw a message from June. June immediately asked if Hen could fulfill his condition and kill one of the players. Hen thought he didn't like his last broadcast. Therefore, in order to rehabilitate himself, he agreed without hesitation. Moreover, now he is definitely capable of it. Suddenly, June said that he had prepared a card for him that would help him. Namely, a card with a cast in motion. At this time, Avatar was being discussed behind his back. Namely, how the Archmage deceived him and greatly disgraced him. This rumor spread very quickly. Avat couldn't screw up now. His future depended on it. 4 days ago, after the end of the Archmage show, the day when Avat came to the gate and began to wait for the Archmage. He couldn't even imagine that the Archmage would leave the castle earlier. All his problems were because of the Archmage, and Avat was determined to kill him. The Archmage finally came out. Only this time he no longer hid, but came out into the open. Everyone was waiting for his appearance. Among all of them, there were also many ordinary spectators who simply came to watch. But most of all, he was awaited by Avat and his team. Hen asked what Avat wanted from him and why he was pursuing him. He didn't hesitate and threw down a white scarf, which meant an offer to fight. Throw the scarf of the Scarf Guild, a symbol of declaring a duel. But if Avat loses, he will be banished forever, and will also pay the winner $10,000. It was a very bold decision. No one knew what the Archmage's next move would be, which caused tension to rise. Avat took out his sword and told Hen, "Run away if you can." But Hen had no intention of doing that. He charged the fireball and the battle began. Everyone thought that Avat had managed to interrupt the cast. They also didn't understand how the magician could win. Avat became more and more confident of his victory. But everything became clear when the fireball started flying towards Avatar. With just one spell, Hen dealt critical damage. Just at that moment, Asmo came onto the stream. Avat was furious about what happened. Hen decided to take things seriously and cast 2 spells. Avat didn't understand why his fireball was so powerful. Asmo didn't understand where Hen got his indomitable will from if it was all sold out. Avat understood that his chances of winning had become much smaller. Hen understood that he was much stronger, but he did not relax. Suddenly, Hen started running during the casting. Having charged the electric charge, he came close. After which he paralyzed Avatar. And immediately after that, he launched an attack with an ice ball. Asmo wrote that even so, melee combat will be a problem due to the speed during casting. Suddenly, Hen stepped back very quickly. Hen was glad that he was able to surprise Asmo himself. The Master's Grimoire, of course, helped him in this. Hen decided that it would be boring to end it like that. So he created a fireball and a shockwave. He must make sure that Avat doesn't even think about catching him. Everyone in the crowd began to realize that this was almost impossible to avoid. Avat also realized this and stood in a stupor. He used Dash, a close combat skill. There were 10 seconds left until the shockwave cast ended. But Hen had no intention of running away. Instead, he calmly dodged all attacks. And when the shockwave was ready, I used it. It seems that for Avatar, this meant complete defeat. The ending had to be special. That's why he went into the inventory. Asmo thought he would get Viltgar's staff, but instead he took out an axe. Avat couldn't believe it. It took Hen 1 hit, after which the defeated Avatar fell to the ground. Hen won, and even laughed at him at the end of the battle, finishing him off with an axe. Now it was unclear whether anyone would dare to attack him. After some time he returned to the tower. Hen said that he had defeated a rising star from a top guild and was very happy about it. Zagara said he had heard about his success, after which he asked if they had managed to find out anything about the unknown. Hen said he found it, but he was too fast, so he only got his trail. After which he handed it over to Zager. As the letter says, no one knows what he is. Suddenly, Hen's necklace began to reach out to the Lord. Hen held it, but it kept thrashing. Zagara asked who made this necklace. Hen replied that it was the creation of the dwarf Zuga. Zagara asked if he could leave all this work to Hen. And of course he agreed. Zagara also gave him his ring. With it, He will be helped in any nook and cranny of the kingdom. It had incredible characteristics and was not for sale. Also, when equipped, hidden parameters are activated. There was a discussion about the latest stream in the office. The peak number of viewers reached almost 400,000. The number of subscribers increased by 11,000. Almost everyone was happy, but June was acting strangely. As it turned out, he was talking on the phone and negotiating advertising. Hyun was walking with Hyerin. He had recently bought her a new backpack. She had just started school and was very happy. Hen was thinking about renting a bigger apartment when he got the money. He really wanted Hyerin not to feel financial problems. Suddenly he received a message. It was a letter from June inviting us to meet via broadcast. Hyun started a private broadcast and June joined it. He wanted to talk about signing advertising contracts, and Hen of course didn't mind. June asked him to put on a show for clients and show off his skills. Hen replied that he would let me know as soon as he had everything ready. That was the end of their conversation. June's assistant noticed that the Archmage was in the forest of stone trees. He must be hunting small golems. They usually require a team of 5 people, but the Archmage can handle it on his own. June told his assistant to collect as much video footage of him as possible. He should be doing this. Merlin of the Abyss Guild was the first in the Archmage class. It is also necessary to increase the scale to reach a wider audience. At this time, Gold was helping Hen kill the golems. This help was more useful than ever. He spent only 10 seconds on the small golem. Nobody knew how strong the Archmage was. Hen has already obtained all the quest items. Zuga said that a compass was needed to follow the unknown. If you take out a fragment of God and connect it with the trace of the unknown, then the resulting object will indicate the owner. Zuga asked to bring 10 more golem crystals. At the same time, he was thinking about what to show to the clients. You can't just show the killing of little golems, you need something that will really impress them. Zuga was surprised that Hen had put everything together so quickly. But it wasn't much of a challenge for him. He wanted to level up further, but the situation with the ads changed everything. Zuga said that thanks to Hen, he saved his hammer and offered him to take it. Judging by its appearance, it is difficult to call it a weapon. Hen hoped that at least it could be sold. But as it turns out, it can only be used once on high-level items. He could extract and place the skill. If you use the golem crystals, he will be able to summon it. And by summoning and killing, he will receive melting stones. After which Zuga did not finish his sentence and simply left. Hen needed to get things cleared up. The system of extracting the ability of one item and transferring it to another has been in many games. But in this particular game, no one has found anything like this. Then you need to think about what to use this item for. It's obvious that he will take the skill from Vigi's staff, and the item he will place this skill into, the legendary Tongue's staff, but its cost is on average $120,000. Once he completes the advertising order, he will definitely be able to afford it. His mood was better than ever, but suddenly he saw that both Gold and Lucky had tasks. When did they manage to level up? Negotiations regarding advertising were taking place in the office. The calls kept coming in, so June kept his phone on the go. He himself was surprised by such excitement, but it made him happy. The Archmage's value will only increase, but she's growing much faster than June thought. They still had 3 hours before the broadcast with the Archmage began. June said to announce it along with the release of the raid on Viltgar. A title had to be come up with for the broadcast. June contacted all clients and thanked them for their time. Everything was ready. All that was left for the Archmage to do was to show off his skills. The broadcast started and Hen greeted everyone. For today's show, he will show a regular warm-up. He hasn't thought about big contracts yet, so this should be enough. Throwing a stone on the ground, he summoned a golem. June saw him for the first time in his life. Hen was fully prepared for battle. It's time to begin. In fact, he was very worried that the clients might not like something, but he was absolutely confident of his victory over the monster. After the battle, Lucky had to evolve, just like Gold. The battle began and Hen decided to break the distance. None of the clients understood what kind of golem it was. Its main phases are tied to health restoration and cloning. He ordered Gold to clear the area for battle. At this time, Lucky had already challenged the golem, and he immediately began to attack. Hen immediately created a ball of fire and ice. An attack without a plan will certainly not impress customers. Therefore, you need to show your strategic skills. The time between the golem's strikes was 7 seconds. Knowing this, it will not be difficult for him to attack him. Hen began to throw a multitude of spells at the golem. He didn't spare any mana and gave it his all. The golem had just over half its HP left, which meant it was moving to the second phase. When he disappeared, everyone thought the battle was over, but the golem simply disintegrated into many smaller ones. Hen told Lucky to take one, and Gold used Gigantism and did something else. Hen also summoned a golem, and many were already wondering if he was really a solo player. One of the golems suddenly started running away. Hen opened his inventory and took out Viltgar's bow. Afterwards, he created 2 arrows, and with one shot he destroyed the golem. So far, everything had gone perfectly according to his plan. But it seems it's getting a bit boring. So, enough of the standard strategies. He uses Dragon Fever on the last one, and if he can't catch it, this will show the quest that is currently running. Donations started coming from viewers. Everyone was impressed with his approach. He was very brave for a newbie. But his risk was always justified, so it's worth investing in. The woman said that Emma shouldn't even ask for a favor. She was worried that asking for something was too much for her position. After all, she was just a manager. But she really wanted to get all the information about the Archmage. More the better. Hen had already managed to destroy the last one. It turned out to be too fast. But everything was not so simple. The golem began to move, and he created 9 clones of himself at once. They were small and looked very weak. Hen used a shockwave to stun them. It was impossible to let them get away. So Golem and Gold started to surround them. The Dragon Fever will be over very soon, so you should hurry. Then Asmo suddenly came onto the stream and said that he would donate $100,000 if Hen lost. But it seems he didn't intend to do that. He wasn't going to tell anyone about the main quest. Lucky ran around the golems and they started to collide with each other. He activated the shockwave again. Dragon Fever still had 23 seconds. He wanted to gather all the golems together and finish them off with one blow. Taking out an axe, he dealt with them without any problem. It took him just under 20 minutes to do everything. He was confident that he had shown everything very well, and that the clients liked everything. Judging by the comments, everything turned out exactly as he thought. He said he would talk about his plans during the next broadcasts. The next target will be the Centaur Knight. The exact time and date will be announced on the channel. The broadcast has ended. Hen received the melting stone. Everything was as Zuga said. He was very pleased with his performance. I was also glad that Lucky started to evolve. His body changed, and he was able to choose a new skill. Hen didn't wait long and immediately opened the skill book. Among them, there were many legendary and unique ones. And he was very lucky again. He came across an unbreakable diamond. Hen said he named Lucky wrong. He should have been called not Lucky, but Cheat Key, because only he can lead this way. He was very happy for him, because with such a skill he would become much stronger. Gold could also become stronger. Devotion has increased by another level, and it's time to choose a skill. Now Hen had no hope for anything. He thought he had already spent all his luck on the lucky card, but it seems he thought in vain, because he was lucky again. He couldn't believe that he got this particular skill card. At this time, rumors that the Archmage had hacked the game began to spread. It's all about the item that dropped from the Bluestone Golem. Viewers were even more eagerly awaiting Archmage's new videos. An assistant came to see Jun and asked him what he should do with the contract agencies were calling him non-stop. But Jun hadn't decided anything yet. After seeing this show, he was sure that the Archmage was not very interested in advertising. At the end, he said he wanted to do another broadcast, so they needed to schedule it. The Archmage suddenly went on a boss raid for the first time, without any information. The assistant thought he said this to get a better reaction, so that advertisers would bid more. But Jun had a slightly different version. He decided the point was that whoever it was, the main thing was that they paid the right price for the show. Through their channel, Archmage will continue to show off new monsters and items that no one has seen yet. It turns out that they need to negotiate with advertisers to increase fees. But no, Jun said they wouldn't charge for advertising. This greatly surprised the assistant. Was it really possible that they wouldn't take anything at all? But he again misunderstood Jun. Of course they won't work for free. He won't take the money. But in return, they will ask for items and skills that will help the Archmage. The assistant was upset because then the company's advertising revenue would decrease. But Jun didn't listen to him. He agreed to accept the Archmage's idea, which he had come up with for himself. Jun was willing to try his best. Hen was already in the western fortress of the Tunga Kingdom. He still wasn't sure if it was normal for him to get that card. Namely, the Berserker skill that dropped from the gold card. He was already afraid of how much stronger gold had become now. The Knights of the Kingdom accompanied him all the way. They told Hen that Zuga was looking for him and asked him to follow them. Hen was a little surprised, but didn't say anything. The place they brought him to was a golden forge. The Golden Forge is a place that all players who have visited the Western Fortress know about. Only there can you get the legendary items of the Tunga Kingdom. And this is something that every player should try at least once. Tungi's Staff, a legendary item for players above level 99. This was his next target, an item worth $120,000. As soon as the payment came, he would buy it immediately. Zuga asked if he was able to obtain the melting stone, and Hen of course gave it to him. The soul metal he found in the Dorito mines reacts to the wielder of mana. Zuga started, so Hen needs to hold the pendant tighter. It looked incredible. The trace of the unknown flowed like liquid. So this is the ability of the melting stone. After all this, the pendant began to pull strongly. It was filled with energy. Now, with such a compass, Finding the unknown will not be difficult. You just had to go where the compass pointed. But before leaving, maybe check out its new characteristics. One of the new skills was the reproduction skill. Reading this again, Hen was shocked. It was a skill that allowed you to use a skill you used once, ignoring the cooldown. Asmo said that the reproduction skill can only be used through an item, so he would write a blank check to anyone who brought the skill card with him. As expected, he was incredibly lucky. He no longer believed that this was reality and not a dream. Zuga said that he could go now. All preparations were complete. A new quest, the hunt for the Centaur Knight, has been added to the main branch. And as an additional reward, he will be given the Black Staff of Tongue, just like the white Vigi staff he received. Everything really was like a dream, too good. The hidden reward required defeating the boss in a team of less than 6 people. This means that 6 people are enough to easily complete the task. But given the difficulty of the game, the team must have players of at least level 90, and he will have to defeat the boss alone. He hasn't had such raids for a long time. The boss that appears in the steppe is the Black Centaur. It has twice the mobility of the normal one, and the Night Centaur was even stronger than the black one. Even so, Lucky won't give in to him under acceleration. But once the effect wears off, he'll catch up with Lucky, and then the life or death skill is activated. As a result, the Centaur can chase him until Lucky dies. This is the first time he has failed to keep him safe. In the Abyss Guild office, Emma was talking on the phone. Information reached her that the Archmage would be accepting payment for advertising skills. She understood that June was not so simple, but he exceeded all her expectations. Truly important items cannot be obtained for money. After this, Emma was asked what she planned to do about it, but she said that it was to her advantage, because the Abyss Guild's items were all better than anyone else's. Whoever the Archmage was, she didn't want to let him go again. The assistant provided Jun with a list of items offered by advertisers. June said that this wouldn't work. Something rarer was needed. The assistant asked what would happen if the customers left, but Jun didn't care much. This is a game where you can only survive this way. There are no advertisers who would miss the opportunity to connect with the most talked about person. Hen entered the forbidden territory and started streaming. It looks like the fog has become even thicker compared to last time. Many people saw this place for the first time, and it seemed strange to them. Hen was just about to follow the pendant when a monster came out to him. It was the Centaur Knight. This is the worst monster for mages because of its speed. He usually rests before and after a raid, but now he needs to hurry. So today I'll give it my all. Asmo came onto the stream and said that he should interact with the viewers more. Under the influence of dragon fever, he began to bombard the boss with spells. Many didn't even see what was going on there. Some even considered him a cheater, but Hen just wanted to finish this boss in 10 minutes. This monster was incredibly strong, as Hen expected. His entire body was armored, and he was also almost invisible in the fog, but that didn't stop Hen from attacking him. When the boss started attacking, Hen didn't even move from his spot, and he dodged right before the blow. This clearly angered the Centaur. And then Hen shouted for Lucky and Gold to come out. They pounced on the monster together, not letting it do anything. Gold used his Berserker skill, and the audience immediately noticed. Berserk and Gigantism were the best skills for melee fighters. Suddenly something strange started to happen. Hen started tanking the boss. His mana shield was able to absorb the monster's blows. After that he made 2 arrows. The Centaur stepped back a little, but it seems it was already too late. Gold and Lucky continued to attack the Centaur without stopping. Suddenly the monster completely turned on Gold. Could it really be doing that much damage? At this time, Hen immediately gave the command. It was an aggro ping-pong tactic that Hen came up with himself. In cases where there is no tank, monsters will attack the one who has dealt the most damage. But the monster's behavior is very difficult to calculate. But Hen was able to do it all on his own, which simply amazed the audience. Because Hen had seen the monster's Agra number, this was no problem for him. And only now the boss entered the most dangerous phase of acceleration. His body became lighter and his speed doubled. The effect of the dragon fever had already ended, and the audience had no idea what Henu should do. When the boss started running towards Hen, Asmo donated $10,000 and wrote that Hen was already dead. But everything was not so simple. As soon as the Centaur swung, Lucky stood in front of him. He was also given acceleration. Lucky also activated the life or death skill. Now it was his battle, but Hen helped him while he distracted the monster. Hen began shooting at the Centaur's back, causing massive damage. But viewers noticed that Lucky seemed to be losing speed to Centaur. It was very dangerous for him. Because of this, people started writing negative comments towards Hyun. But Hen had everything under control. He used ball lightning, after which Lucky began to attack. But at some point the Centaur still touched him. The audience thought he was dead, but suddenly everyone heard a strange sound and a golden glow. It was the invulnerability skill, the indestructible diamond, that worked. And right after that, Hen said repeat. A discussion started in the chat about what kind of repetition this was. Asmo wrote that you need to immediately say that you have a repeat. Hen didn't wait and used Dragon Fever. The distance to the boss was about 60 meters. He activated the ballista and the dragon's eye, then created a fire and ice spear. And after all this, he started throwing fireballs at him. His accuracy was simply amazing. But nothing else was expected from the Archmage. The boss has entered the final phase, in which his fire step was activated. But Hen wasn't about to lose. He decided it was high time to come closer, after which he took an axe out of his inventory. But suddenly he noticed that the centaur's health was rapidly declining. He couldn't see well because of the fog, but he made it out. Hen began to worry that Gold might die, but he just kept fighting. And it seems it was not in vain. The Centaur Knight was defeated. Lucky and Gold were very happy, and Hen just stood there at a loss and didn't know what to do. Hen just ended the broadcast. He played really well, but now he's embarrassed to death. But Gold didn't understand why he was sad. After all, they had won. Actually, Hen was just worried about Lucky when he fell. The broadcast was short because he gave it his all, and he began to worry that advertisers would refuse because of this. As a reward for the murder, he received the treasure of the Centaur Knight. He only hoped that the dropped item could be sold. His gaze immediately fell on the Centaur's bow. This will definitely be sellable, but suddenly he has a double attack. This is an exclusive skill for archers, but if it was built into the bow, then he could use it too. Suddenly Gold saw that Hen was glowing, and the glow grew stronger. The egg began to absorb the energy of the nameless god again. It felt like after defeating Viltgar. The egg's hatching progress was now at 9%, and the forbidden territory was cleared. And in the distance he saw him, that same unknown one. Hen ordered Lucky and Gold to prepare for battle. He was already in the mood for battle. Suddenly I noticed the level of the unknown, after which he lost the power of speech, 444th. He can't cope with this. Even the top players have never achieved this. Hen was sure that the unknown person was not created to fight him, and Lucky and Gold continued to run and prepared to fight. Hen was even confused, but quickly came to his senses and stopped them. The unknown person did not seem to intend to attack, and Hen also felt someone's presence. After that he took out his bow and shot, but the unknown person was able to dodge. After which he opened a portal and went into it. Hen stood and tried to take it all in. And just at that time Zagara came out with the knights. They were worried about Hen. Hen was very glad that according to the storyline, he was saved by NPCs. After that, they returned to the East Observation Tower. Zagara said that thanks to Hen, they were able to destroy the threat terrorizing the fortress. And as a token of gratitude, he will give him a very valuable reward. That same black staff of Tunga. Hen couldn't believe his eyes. What he had been working for was finally in his hands. Its characteristics were incredibly huge. It increased the size of magical attacks by 28%. But that wasn't the most important thing. The whole point was in the hidden ability. Namely, the Snake Eye. A very rare and powerful ability. It was the first time Hen had seen such a skill. But he already knew it was unique. Zagara said his men had searched the cleared, restricted area. After this, he ordered his servants to bring what they had found. It was a leaf. It was found where the unknown person was standing, and his appearance changed dramatically. This means he was from a place where everything we see changes. A leaf from a ghostly forest. And apparently the next destination had already been determined. Now he needed to go to the ghostly forest and find out about the nameless god. Hen was glad that he could finally go to a new location. At this time, June was sitting in his office and watching the stream. The boss raid was completed in 6 minutes, and the broadcast was more than successful. Even June couldn't have expected this. The reason why it was difficult to rise through such streams was very simple. The thing is, no one knows exactly when the boss will show up. But how could the Archmage foresee this? June began to think that he was going on some kind of quest alone. He was sure that he was connected with someone from the Alpha Company, which created this game. Therefore, he was very worried about this issue. Suddenly, an assistant entered the room and brought him a report on the broadcast. But June didn't seem to even notice him. He simply gave him the advertiser's request and asked him to add them to the letter. The description said about solo killing of a ghost. With the Archmage's current level, this shouldn't be a problem for him. And as a reward, there will be a spirit summoning skill card. The assistant was very surprised, because it couldn't even be found at the market due to the monopolization of the Adventurers Guild. But it seems everything had already been decided. June asked what the advertiser thought of the Archmage's skills. He replied that he was too strong, but that was exactly what he liked. June also added that if he doesn't like it, they will return the money. But there was no talk of such a thing, and the advertiser herself offered him a spirit summoning skill card. All this was organized through Gamma Drugs. If the Archmage kills a ghost solo after 15 days, they will give him a summoning card. Merlin thought that if he took the bait, they would be able to find out his next move. Emma had already leaked all the information about his route to the Snake Hunters Guild, and she planned everything even more carefully so as not to miss him. All that was left was to wait for him to take the hook. They thought that now the Archmage would rejoice without suspecting anything. And indeed, they almost guessed right. Hen was very glad that the advertisers did not leave him and were ready to continue collaborating. His current skills are more than enough to kill the ghost. To begin with, he wanted to sell Vigi's bow and Viltgar's wooden spear. He also understood that simply killing the ghost would not be enough. He already screwed up killing the Centaur Knight, so this is his chance to make up for it. This time he decided to prepare even more thoroughly. This way he will be able to pay off his remaining debts and escape from his chicken coop. This way my brother will feel much better, and will be able to continue to recover peacefully, and will also be able to send Hire into art school. He believed in himself and knew that he would succeed. In fact, this will be his second trip to the Ghost Forest since the first character. The forest is an area for players just above level 100. After receiving a quest in the western fortress of the Tunga Kingdom, you can get there through a magical portal. There appears a slime, a monster of the transforming type. Players can also fall into an illusion, and their appearance will change. To distinguish a person from slime, you need to attack and check. Also, being under illusion gives the opportunity to kill other players. This forest gained such a bad reputation due to the theft of a ghost from the Huayang Guild. Top Guild Huayang was attacked during a raid by a boss, a ghost. All the guild members were killed, and their boss was stolen. The killers then formed their own Snake Hunters Guild, specializing in murder and theft. Suddenly Lucky smelled a special smell and started barking. It was a hidden dungeon, the home of slime. But to complete it, you will have to level up a little more. Everyone knows about the existence of hidden dungeons, but since the terrain is constantly changing, finding them is not so easy. Apparently Hen was the first to find this dungeon. Then all that's left is to level up and complete the dungeon on the broadcast. At this time, the player was attacked in the forest. Basically, this was done not for any benefit, but simply for fun, especially when we met ordinary players with a low level. To prevent this from happening, you could stay in the safe zone, but leveling up there is also quite difficult. But the attackers also shouldn't have acted too openly. Suddenly, another player came to the attacker nicknamed Hound. He told him that next time he needed to be more careful. Otherwise, they might be noticed and punished. He also asked if the Hound would take the order to kill the Archmage. And of course he agreed, because he thought it would be easy prey. Not only will he get a lot of money, but he will also become a famous guildmaster. Where has it ever been seen that a hound would throw its prey? And Hen continued to level up. He has already reached level 89. And now he will finally be able to use the Black Staff of Tungi. He also received a title that came with a good reward. Besides, he will now be able to test the hidden power of the staff. It's time to see how powerful Snake Eyes are. There are many control abilities in the game, the most notable of which are paralysis and sleep. But the advantage of the Snake Eye is that it disrupts the enemy's formation. While the Snake Eye was charging, they simply fought the monsters. Of course, this type of charging had its downside, but surprisingly it happened quite quickly. There were literally 3 attacks left until the Snake Eye was fully charged. And when that happened, it was time to test it on the slugs of the Ghost Forest. They were a lot of trouble because of their huge numbers. Hen pointed his staff at them and activated his ability. And the next moment, all the monsters turned to stone. It looked very unusual. And Hen was very surprised, because he didn't expect that he would be able to stop everyone at once. Under Dragon Fever, he could use it every 30 seconds. He even began to think whether he would be kicked out of the game for this. In addition, Lucky's skills allowed him to calculate the most effective attack pattern, and destroy each monster in turn. They crumbled instantly, and this could not but please Hen. And after a while, Lucky dealt with everyone. Hen decided to open the skill card. And it seems this time, as always, he was extremely lucky. He saw the skill and froze. Even though this happened often, he still couldn't get used to it. Now he had everything he needed to hunt the ghost. But first he had to take care of a couple of things. For example, to buy something tasty for Hyerin, he started selling unnecessary things. Heck distracted him and asked what he was doing. Hen even got a little scared and hid the phone in his pocket, which made Heck a little nervous. But he said that he was just writing to a girl, after which he asked to add 3 hours to his capsule. But Heck's face was very strange. He didn't believe that Hen was writing to some girl. Hen said he was just joking, but he felt very awkward. But Hyuk and his friend just laughed at how Hyun could have a girlfriend if he spends all his time playing the game. But it bothered him a little. Did he really look like the kind of person who didn't get along with girls? After all, he recorded the girl's last contact in order to receive compensation for the phone. Heck's phone vibrated. Taking it, he saw another piece of news. He shouted to Hen that the purification staff was put up for auction. Hen couldn't believe it all got back to Heck so quickly. And in the Abyss Guild there was a meeting. Emma also asked Sol if she had an appointment today. She replied that she finished quickly, so she came here straight away. Emma asked how the progress was with the second character they had talked about earlier, but she replied that she was still in the swamps. Suddenly Merlin entered the room. Sol was very glad to see her, because they rarely crossed paths lately. Merlin asked what they were talking about, but Sol replied that she just came by to say hello. Merlin asked to pick up Emma for a short while at a personal request, and Sol, of course, could not refuse. The private conversation was because Sol didn't know much about what Merlin and Emma were doing now. Merlin said she was worried because they had thrown such bait to the Archmage, and he still hasn't accepted their task. Did June notice something? After all, he is a Wharton School graduate, and as they say, he was so smart that he even surpassed his elders. Emma said that he would not give an answer right away, even if he liked the terms. He is the type of person who will push as hard as he can to get as much as possible, so he said they were still considering the offer. Emma said that if the Archmage understood their motives, there was a good chance that there was a traitor among them. But in general, they can only wait for an answer. Suddenly Emma saw that the Archmage had started broadcasting. The stream is probably related to the item he recently put up for auction. Hen greeted all viewers on the stream, and then he announced that he would now begin a solo raid on the ghost. People started discussing the items that Hen was currently selling. Nobody understood why he needed this. Someone thought that he was looking for sponsors like, buy a staff, and I'll take your advertising. But on the other hand, what's the point of them worrying about it? Some rich guy will buy it all anyway. But Hen was upset because the price of his items did not increase at all. He believed that everything would sell and spent all the money on things and skills. This time it's not just a stream, because it will determine whether it will be recognized or not. With such preparations, the ghost would not be a problem. The other question was time. And his pendant didn't work in this forest. And the only clue is the notification window. In his experience, he must destroy the ghost to progress further in the quest. Due to an invisible force, the cursed pendant fell into deep confusion. Hen had no choice but to defeat the boss. Hen couldn't wait for it all to begin. At this time, the assistant told Jun that a letter had arrived from the Archmage, but he had already seen it. He's going to start broadcasting very soon. Could it be because of the solo ghost assassination quest? June said that the conditions were too favorable for the Archmage, but apparently he sensed something was wrong, and even then he did not refuse. Jun was also looking forward to what kind of show they would see this time. Whether it's a solo ghost kill or something else, he'll definitely be watching. Hen stood waiting. No one had ever done anything like this before. And in fact, he was even a little nervous. But still, he was not alone. And this greatly encouraged him. He started a closed broadcast, which Jun joined. Hen wanted to tell him something about today's stream. It was about killing the ghost. Hen has already said for sure that he accepts this assignment. The description said to defeat him in 11 days. But why wait so long, when you can start right now? Literally a few seconds later, the boss himself appeared. As soon as the stream started, a huge number of viewers immediately started joining it. Hen greeted everyone and said that they were about to see a solo ghost kill. Also this time he has a new addition to his team, a familiar spirit. Jun was surprised that Hyun showed him on this broadcast. Hen charged up 3 attacks, and the spirit began casting a 4th spell. Now we can definitely start. The damage from 3 shots was slightly not enough to trigger the boss's next phase. But that was not all. The spirit finished casting and Hen had 1 more shot. Suddenly the ghost began to rapidly approach Hen. But he decided to attack not Hen, but Lucky and Gold. Then he used Gigantization and Berserker skill. After which he grabbed hold of the ghost. And surprisingly, Gold's strength was enough to hold him back. And at this time Lucky began to attack him. It was very strange, because physical attacks shouldn't work on him. But Hen timed the moment perfectly for Lucky and Gold to attack. When the boss becomes ghostly again, that's when the real surprises begin. But suddenly Hen felt something. Looking to the side, he saw it, the hound that was hiding in the forest. He immediately realized that this was an assassin from the Snake Hunters Guild. And in the Abyss Guild there were some small problems. They didn't understand why the Archmage accepted the task, knowing it was a trap. He also proudly used the spirit that was given as an advance payment. How many steps he thought through. Jun was thinking about Hyun's decision to show off the spirit on a surprise stream. It felt like he turned on the broadcast just to show how he hunted. Hen told the audience that this was just the beginning, and they would still have time to be surprised. June and Emma continued to wonder what it all meant. And Emma seemed to understand that by showing the spirit, he wanted to tell them about the price increase if they wanted to get the answers. And most likely, he already realized that they were going to attack him. Their plan has failed, and they need to stop if they want to minimize the damage. Then she decided that there was no need to continue watching the stream. She asked Merlin to tell the Snake Hunters that the plan had failed. Now they need to respond to the Archmage's message. June also understood the essence of everything the Archmage had done. He knew, of course, that he was strong, but now there was no doubt that he was working on something that was hard to even imagine. And it also meant something else. He finally accepted June as an ally. He didn't intend to watch the broadcast anymore. He informed all the workers that their main task now was to draw up a plan to help the Archmage. They weren't very happy, because this meant working late again. The assassin received a message that he needed to leave immediately. He was very sad to miss such an opportunity. His advantage was about 40 levels, and he also thought that Hen had no idea he was here. So I decided to attack when the boss entered the third phase. After some time, the ghost activated a ghost dash. Now it will only stop when someone dies. Hen shouted for Lucky and Gold to step back. The audience couldn't understand whether Hen had decided to take all the damage on himself. But it was too late to think. The boss was already getting ready to attack. Hen wasn't scared at all. He already had a plan prepared. The Hound ran next to the boss, also being invisible, and thought that he would kill the Archmage very soon. He saw all his movements and was going to anticipate them. But suddenly something happened that he certainly didn't expect. Hen activated the snake eyes, causing the Hound to no longer move. They stood frozen in place together with the ghost. Then the invisibility passed, and everyone saw him. He was confused and didn't know what to do next. Suddenly the ghost's petrification passed, and now his immediate target was no longer Hen. The audience immediately recognized him, and after the ghost's attack, they even felt a little sorry for him. Hen pretended not to understand what had just happened. But since the boss has dealt with the outsider, the raid can continue. Hen shouted at Lucky to start attacking, and Lucky challenged the ghost. Now he will either defeat him or die. But no one doubted Lucky's strength. Besides, he had an indestructible diamond, which meant that he couldn't be killed. Now the main thing is that Hen has enough damage to kill. He took the bow in his hands and said that now everything would end. Then everyone saw the double arrow skill. This surprised everyone incredibly, because it was a unique skill of an archer. Besides this, Hen used a quadruple cast. After 8 hits, the boss had enough HP for 1 hit. Hen shouted at Lucky not to attack, but Lucky didn't seem to hear him, and all the spectators were asking him to attack. And it seemed Lucky was in the mood, and Hen is very upset. Lucky dealt the finishing blow. He won and was proud of himself, and in the chat, everyone was laughing because the Archmage had once again failed to finish off the boss with an axe. Hen said that everything was exactly as planned, and when it was time to sum up the results, a donation came from Asmo. He offered Hen a deal. If Hen answers his question yes or no, he will bid on the staff made from the root of Viltgar. Jun sat and waited for Hyun's answer. Asmo asked if it was true that Hen was currently on the main quest. Jun tensed a little with anticipation. But to everyone's surprise, Hen answered directly that this is exactly what he is currently going through. That same main quest that no one found from the very beginning of the game. The consequences will be very serious. How can they help the Archmage now? Jun asked his assistant to place an advertisement for the drugs, and the assistant was surprised, because he thought that Jun had refused them. But as it turned out, he wanted to refuse, but did not do it. Moreover, Hen completed the task, and in order to receive the reward, they must place an advertisement. The main thing is not to break the connection with them. If they really want to ruin their lives, they need to strengthen their relationship, because you can't unclench your hands anymore. They will give a reward. If we try, we can rip off more, even if it means using everything Jun learned at Wharton. Hen has left the game. My head hurt terribly from everything that happened. I had to process everything that had happened. After killing the ghost, the pendant finally reacted, and this effect could not be shown on air. So Hen decided to quickly collect everything that dropped from the boss and end the stream. But first we need to see what the assassin who hunted him had. But what he had really surprised him. It turns out he took the fire serpent's fang with him. It seemed like he was determined to kill Hen since he took such a valuable item. But the most important thing is that he told everyone that the main quest was going on. He was going to do it anyway. But now it's a complete headache. Suddenly Heck ran up to him with more news. He told him that the Archmage had revealed that the main quest was taking place, and Hen had asked to watch so as not to arouse suspicion. It looks like the game is about to get some real buzz. Hen took his phone to see if Asmo had placed a bid on his item. Covering one number with his hands, he thought that Asmo hadn't done anything yet. But Hen was surprised that Hen had such an indifferent reaction. Couldn't he see the amount that Asmo had bet? Hearing it from Heck, he almost fainted. $100,000. Seeing this with his own eyes, he almost dropped his friend's phone. In the evening, he bought a chicken for Hyren. She was very happy to see him, especially when she saw her favorite food in his hands. He asked how she was doing, then gave her some chicken and her favorite ice cream. He asked her to warm up the chicken so they could all have dinner. Afterwards, his brother called him to him. He asked if everything was okay with Hen, since he worked so much and sometimes didn't come home at all. But he replied that it was no trouble for him. He also asked if Hen was doing anything dangerous. Hen decided to joke and said that this time he did something important. There are people who are interested in the information he has. Their group is called OMN, and he is being hunted by Ethan Hunt, whose real name is Tom Cruise. The operation is called Mission Impossible. After these words, the brother pinched Hen. He said that since Hen was working as a miner, the main thing for him was not to overwork himself and not to do stupid things. Their conversation was interrupted by Heron, who called them to eat chicken, and she added that they should hurry, otherwise she would eat it all herself. But Hen thought about his brother's words. It's just the beginning. Even the Snake Hunters Guild, one of the 3 most powerful, has their eye on him. Emma's assistant approached her and informed her that the mission had failed due to the Hound's actions. But Emma already knew everything, both about their defeat and about the fact that the Hound had lost the fang of the fire serpent. Emma said that another method needed to be used and asked her assistant to contact the guild again. But as she was leaving, she asked one more question. She asked how they could get more information about him. Her assistant Jackie replied that for now, they knew he was somewhere in South Korea, and there from their guild there is only news. Emma asked Jackie to contact her and tell her that she had a very important task for her. At this time, she decided to go to the store. Standing at the counter, she heard that she had received a notification. It was a message from Emma, and she needed to call her as soon as possible. But when she went out, she saw Hen. She realized that it was the same guy with the phone. She paid and collected the purchases very quickly, and as I was leaving, I decided that I still needed to say hello to him. Coming up from behind, she saw that he was watching the Archmage's new video. She stood and watched for a while. Suddenly, Hen saw the number of views on the video. After that, he turned around and saw that Sul had been standing behind him all this time. He apologized for possibly scaring her. After which, he invited her to sit down, and she was already thinking that she shouldn't have talked to him at all. She finally sat down and apologized again for the situation with the phone. She asked if he was a fan of Archmage since he was watching the video so enthusiastically. He replied that he watches it simply because he is popular, and besides, he plays it all the time. She was surprised by this, and asked what he was doing in the game. Hen replied that he was a simple miner, and played to feed his family. Suddenly he looked at the time and said that it was time for him to go. He said goodbye to Sul, and said that they would see each other again. She was very surprised, because Hen was the first person with whom she had managed to talk so calmly. After entering the game, Hen went for the pendant, and it led him to the ghost spirit. Hen told him that he was looking for the nameless god. The spirit began to speak to him, after which the quest was immediately completed. His name was Natarsa. He was banished by a wandering ghost who thirsted for the powers of the nameless god. But in the past, he was a guardian of the forest village. Hen was a little surprised by his story, but quickly remembered why he came. He took out the egg and said that it was absorbing the power of the nameless god. Natarsa was surprised that this egg actually existed. He told Hyun that he would tell him more if he proved himself worthy of it. Now his task was to defeat the ghost in 10 minutes. And surprisingly, Hen dealt with it easily, killing him in 6 minutes. Natarsa was very surprised that Hen managed to do it. After that, he showed him the true appearance of the forest they were in. Now it no longer looked like a fertile place where only slimes lived. He said that someone had devastated the forest, and no one knew who had hidden his true form. His power is enough to change an entire forest. Nothing less, it is the power of a god. And so he will give Hen a task. This is one of his guardian legacies, the guardian glove. Hen needed to gather all the evidence that he was a guardian, find the head of the forest village and convey his message to her. Now Hen had a glove that surprisingly had the ability of the revolver skill. Hen was very happy and was ready to go on the mission. At this time, Emma was talking on the phone in the office. She spoke about the failure of the Hound, and said that she now had every right to break the contract with him. But I still decided to give them a chance to fix everything. She told us to prepare for an imminent attack on the Archmage. She was sure that he would definitely take on their new task because the reward would be even better. And she also told them not to forget that this was their last chance. After that, their conversation was over. Now it remains to be seen if Hen can survive the encounter with the Snake Hunters Guild. And in June's office, negotiations were underway regarding the reward for the completed task. They have more than coped with it, so will there be no reward? But June replied that it was the other way around. They gave a new task, saying that they liked the surprise. The attack will happen again, and they ask if he can perform the scene where he defeats the boss under these conditions. The conditions were bad, but the reward was too good. Revolver is a skill that increases magic creation by 40%. The assistant said that this card was not sold anywhere. But then he realized that this was precisely why the Archmage would definitely agree. And even a stream of the attack could easily attract over 1 million viewers. Suddenly, June saw that the Archmage had sent him a video. The title was a ghost solo kill. Jun was a little surprised. Wasn't that what he was doing on the broadcast? But when they opened the video, they couldn't contain their surprise. They saw that the video was only 6 minutes long, and Hen had already reached the forest village. And of course, all the attention of the residents was immediately turned to his team. Hen greeted everyone. One of the girls, a little shyly, asked to take a photo. Hen, of course, agreed. But everything turned out a little differently. All the attention was on Lucky and Gold, and it was as if everyone had forgotten about him. Because of this, Hen even got upset when suddenly a girl approached him. She actually wanted a photo with Lucky too, but she felt sorry for Hyun. She said the last ghost-killing video was really cool, but Hyun said there would be an even better one coming soon. The girl immediately understood that he was talking about forest trolls. According to the schedule, the video will be available in 8 days. But as soon as he said it, I realized it was in vain. He completely forgot that the schedule was a secret and asked the girl not to tell anyone. Hen entered the forest and started the broadcast. In it, he said that he would kill the boss of this forest alone, and if anyone wanted to stop him, he was waiting for them all. As expected, he was already under surveillance. Hen didn't understand what he had done to attract so much hate. Hen said the boss would appear soon, but according to his information, there were a lot of guild members here, namely the Red Snake Guild, Scaff Guild, Triple Code Guild, 5-Star Gate Guild. Afterwards, he listed many more guilds. Spectators were surprised by the number of players, as well as the fact that he had such information. At this time, the assassins were thinking about how they could have been exposed, since they hid well. Afterwards, Hen said that the Snake Hunters Guild was also here. Some people didn't understand how all this could be understood. But on the other hand, it was obvious that this situation was a trap. Now the assassins were thinking about what to do, continue standing or leave. Hen said he was surprised that no one left. But in that case, he will attack first. Hen knew every place where his enemies were. After his attack, everyone started running away, and Hen just stood there and watched everything that was happening. Of all the guilds, only the Snake Hunters remained apparently. They are waiting for Hen to relax after the raid so they can attack. But just as he thought about it, the boss appeared. A huge two-headed troll. Now the battle could begin. Lucky and Gold were already waiting for Hen's instructions. Their battle proceeded very quickly. In just a few minutes, the boss was already in the second phase. And in the midst of the battle, Hen used Dragon Fever. Lucky used Life or Death, and he himself began to throw fire arrows at the boss. Now the boss has entered the third phase, the two-head mode. The audience's opinion was divided. Some fully believed in Hen's victory, while others were already beginning to doubt it. Hen told Lucky and Gold to retreat. Now it was his turn to attack. He used his new skill, Inferno. He recently leveled up to level 100, and that's a skill he got for it. Inferno was the second highest damage skill below level 100, but its whole essence was the Inferno effect. It reduced all defensive skills. Afterwards, Hen took out his bow and used Dragon Fever Repeat. Everyone immediately noticed that something had changed since the last stream. The Steelies had become faster, and so had the magic itself. The raid was over and the Snake Hunters were about to attack. They decided that the boss had weakened the Archmage, and they would definitely be able to win. This time Hen was even too good. Suddenly he turned to the audience and asked a question. Why do they think he didn't use the Snake's Eye today? The answer is simple. Besides the boss, he has another loot. Jun watched the stream and was surprised that even the Snake Hunters Guild would take action. They are not the ones to take the award. Still, the Archmage is a real monster. He is always several steps ahead of everyone else. Emma decided that there was definitely a traitor among them who was reporting everything to the Archmage. Jackie came to her and said that they had received an offer from June. They are asking for another reward of the same value. Emma thought they were being cheeky at first, but if they refused, it would raise doubts. She offered the elven boots and asked to call all the players around the village. Rumors had already spread in the village that the Archmage had single-handedly defeated the troll. The residents speculated about what the Archmage would do next. Today was the day of the raid, but the comments had been flying in for several days. Their schedule was leaked after all. But this is even better. It's a kind of marketing ploy. Everyone will be interested to check whether the rumors are true or not. Now it's time to get ready for the broadcast. But it seems they have a problem. Right now, on another channel, there was a hunt for a two-headed troll. They decided to get ahead of Hen. It turns out that their raid was brazenly stolen from them. The assistant told Emma that the number of views was simply exploding. And the most important thing is that no one will even say a word to them. In the current situation, the Archmage will not be able to stop them. He needed to think it all over calmly. June thought that the Archmage couldn't have foreseen this. Most of the comments were about how the Archmage couldn't lie to them, and everything was going very well for the group of Avengers. Saul watched the stream and didn't understand why the Abyss Guild had started a raid. And then I suddenly remembered about the gathering of people a few days ago. Was this really to gather people for a raid? But her thoughts were interrupted by a message. Suddenly the Archmage began broadcasting. Everyone demanded an explanation from Hen about the raid. But Hen made a face as if he didn't understand what had just happened. Hasn't he realized yet that his raid was stolen from him? Suddenly, she caught herself thinking that she was worrying about the wrong thing. Hen said he didn't understand what was causing the reaction. After all, the raid will take place. Gold shouted that something huge was approaching. It was an even stronger monster, a three-headed troll. Now it was definitely time to start broadcasting. But how will he cope with such a huge boss? After all, he didn't deceive them when he said there would be a raid on the multi-headed troll. But the Archmage, to everyone's surprise, began to run away. As he ran away, he asked the audience if they knew about the long spin skill. The further away from the target, the more damage, but it makes it easier for the enemy to dodge. There are many different obstacles that prevent you from hitting your target. After these words, he summoned a golem. Standing on the golem's head, there were no obstacles and a perfect view. Now is the time to begin the attack. After just a few attacks, the boss was already in the third phase. Hen dealt a huge amount of damage without taking a single hit, but Lucky was already running out of his skill, and it was Gold's time. On one command, he used gigantization. Hen ordered Gold to leave the troll, and he immediately rushed into the attack. Running closer, he used the guard's protection and was able to stop the boss. It's time to finish with him. After that, he activated Inferno to finish off the troll for sure, and he was able to do it without any problems. He was about to end the stream at this point, but he was asked to show the items. But Hen said that there was something more important than loot right now and ended the broadcast. After this, Natarsa came out of the forest to give him another piece of equipment. Natarsa gave him a guardian circlet with incredible characteristics, and he also had the camouflage skill. Gold said the job was done and waited for the next order. All this was thanks to a new skill. It wasn't for nothing that Hen leveled them both up before the raid. And I myself also learned new skills. The Abyss Guild was in real trouble. Emma became a complete laughingstock again. The Archmage had fooled her so many times already. They reached the Night Forest, but it is difficult for solo players due to wandering werewolves. It was necessary to prepare a new and even better plan. The message board was going crazy. They had already grown to 60th place, and now they have 2.5 million subscribers. The assistant came in and said that a new advertising request had arrived. June thought it was the Gamma drugs again, but it turned out not to be. It was a message from the Blue Bull, the enemy of the Gamma drugs. In the garrison of the Night Forest, there was a discussion about the Archmage. They were confident that this time he would definitely assemble a team for himself. Even top players assemble teams of 10 people to hunt here. After all, the wolves walk in groups with a werewolf and 9 black wolves. But there were also rumors that top guilds were offering him a lot of money in exchange for videos of their hunt together. But you shouldn't trust rumors, and you need to ask everything in person. Suddenly, they saw that the Archmage was already walking towards them, and surprisingly, he was alone again. They began to ask him about the rumors, and they also offered to join them. Hen didn't respond to the rumors, and they began to persuade him. He was offered both a tank and a support. They even started dividing Lucky and Gold. Hen expected this, because hunting in a group in the Night Forest is a common thing. Hen asked to listen to him and immediately apologized. He received many offers, but turned them all down and will continue to play solo. The Night Forest is pitch black, so you can't see anything in front of you. But if he prepares well, he can deal with most of them before they even get there. And no matter how much they hide, he sees everyone. After the hunt, an NPC came out of the forest to him. His name was Umta, and she asked Hen for help. Hen thought that he wanted to take revenge on Hen. He also said that he would reward him for his help. After which he handed over a book of random master skill. Hen was a little surprised, because this reward should be for a different task. Umta also added that if Hen can defeat the Dark Wolf, then he will give him a legendary book of random master skill. Hen didn't listen any further. He just wanted to get his reward as soon as possible. There were 59 hours until the boss appeared. He still had time to level up. After some time, he reached level 110. After which he began to open the skill card. Could it be that he will be lucky again? And that's exactly how it happened. He got the lightning strike skill. The assistant reported that the Archmage had begun broadcasting. He knew it and had already looked at it. This solo hunt was something to behold and was incredible. He hadn't seen such an aggressive hunt since Asmo. After the hunt, he showed Lucky to everyone, and then he thanked everyone for coming and was about to end the broadcast. Before the end, he added that he would show a stronger version of himself on the next broadcast. He showed his skills very well, except for the lightning strike. He will show it when he finishes off the Dark Wolf. After all the viewers had left, June came back and said the stream was amazing. He then and simply couldn't refuse something like that. He told June not to worry about his opinion, and gave him complete freedom of action. After that, June decided everything. He asked his assistant to call Blue Bull and make a contract. He asked his assistant if Asmo would really give him that very item. June wasn't sure, but knowing everything in advance would be boring. Emma was just talking to Merlin about this. Merlin asked if they had received the lightning strike card. Emma said it was impossible, and that was why the Archmage asked her. In that case, The blue bull might offer him the armor of the nameless Archmage, the one that only Asmo has. But why did Asmo decide to act now? It was only known that if he took the blue bull under his command, it would be difficult to deal with him. So for now, they decided to just wait. Afterwards, she asked Jackie to send a message. The real war begins. They can't just sit quietly. Hyun was walking down the street with Hyerin. She asked him to come again and buy some chicken. Now he finally had the money to do it. They walked and just talked. Suddenly we met Sul at a pedestrian crossing. The three of them continued walking, and it was clear that they were uncomfortable. Hyerin asked if Sul was dating her uncle. They became embarrassed and told her that they were just friends. Sol said that she also plays the game like her uncle. Heron said that he is a very powerful magician. Sol thought for a moment but said nothing. Hen finally reached level 118. He told Gold to take off his clothes. Hen killed 100 werewolves, but he couldn't summon the Keeper because he was too low a level. But now that he's leveled up, he can finally give Gold a new look. Gold's appearance began to change. Hen asked what he thought of his new body. He replied, "Then it's time to give him new things and test them out." After this, Gold began to ask Lucky if he envied him. Now everything was ready to start the broadcast. Launching it, he immediately showed Gold's new look. At first, viewers thought it was Lucky, but then they recognized Gold. Hen didn't wait long and decided to move straight to the raid. The clouds thickened and something glowing like the moon appeared. But it was not the moon, but a fruit. This time there will be no boss, but waves of mobs. Wolves began to emerge from the ground. In this case, you can delay the lightning strike, because he only has 10 minutes to kill everyone. There were about 100 of them. Lucky used Lightning Flash and Gold used Berserk. Hen also prepared spells, and his spirit began to cast Inferno. With the help of the Master's book, he improved his casting and motion. Now he had the image of a new magician that no one had shown, and he thought he would be the main character of the broadcast, but it seems he was wrong. Gold dealt with a whole wave of monsters with incredible speed. Viewers wrote that he is now even stronger than the Archmage himself. Hen couldn't even imagine that this would happen, but there was nothing bad about it. Hen used Dragon Fever, but just when he wanted to use the Lightning Strike, Gold had already dealt with everyone. Looks like I'll have to put it off until later. Suddenly, there was silence. Hen didn't even know what to answer, and just finished the stream. For now, he decided to ignore it. Umta came out of the bushes and gave him a reward. Having received the book, he decided to return to the village. But before leaving, Natarsa appeared. Now he was ready to tell Hen everything. Now Natarsa was sure that Hen was worthy. Natarsa found the power of the nameless god and managed to take part of it, for which he was punished. However, the egg that Hen has, it will protect against this force, said Natarsa, and handed him a card with the guardian armor. It added projectiles, the same feature as the nameless Archmage's armor. Hen asked what he should do next. Natarsa replied that there was a laboratory near his village, where he would find a helper bird. Hen didn't quite understand who Natarsa was talking about, but he still went to the village. After some time, he came out of the village. They walked very quietly, and finally we reached the guard's laboratory. He walked inside carefully. Having entered, Hen began to look around. As he thought, the place was quite convenient. He turned the candle, after which the passage opened. And from there a bird flew out. Apparently it was what Natarsa was talking about. Now he had a new pet. He also received an award for the broadcast. It was an armor that only Asmo had. But the problem is that he has no reason to use it. But if he sells her, he will lose Asmo's respect. But then he looked at the card again. This armor had a hidden skill. What is this? After reading it again, Hen cried out in surprise. Just think what this game has. The discussion of the Archmage was in full swing. There has been no news from him for several days. That's what everyone thought until Heck arrived. The Archmage launched an emergency stream. Everyone immediately picked up their phones. This was an unboxing stream. Hen greeted everyone, and the first thing everyone saw was the bird. Hen introduced his new pet. His name was Jackpot. Afterwards, he showed everything that Asmo had given him. The main skill of this armor is an additional projectile, but unfortunately, it is useless for him, so he will destroy the armor. His statement shocked everyone. After all, this thing is the only one in the game, but you couldn't even imagine a better show. At that moment, a donation arrived from Asmo, who supported Hen's idea. The armor began to be destroyed quickly. That's it, the armor is destroyed. The hidden skill was a skill card called One More. When she fell out, everyone became wary. Hen took it in his hands and showed genuine surprise, after which he immediately ended the stream. This broadcast was a big event that changed the history of the game, but ahead of him was a stream of killing a fire snake. But first, the main task. Hen entered the Tower of Azar. There a voice greeted him. He was told to take up the vine, after which he began to rise upward. When he got up, he saw the one who was talking to him. There was an NPC named Azar sitting there. His new task will be to kill the fire snake. Everything was going perfectly. and after some time he stood near the labyrinth. The difficulty here is high, but for them it is not a problem. In the corner he saw 3 slugs. They will show him where the boss is. But first you need to use the Master Skill card book, and he decided to use it for the Guardian skill. Now Gold has become even stronger, and it seems he started having problems. Gold has become too strong, and this time, Hen should be in the center of the broadcast. At this time, Asmo started streaming. They immediately started asking him questions about unpacking the Archmage. He admitted that he was irritated at first. After all, since he had already done this, he had to show what kind of skill he had been given. But now he was looking forward to new streams even more. Jun watched his stream and thought it might cause a bit of trouble. People's opinion of the Archmage was not very good because of this situation, and in general, Jun had never seen him so excited. But on the other hand, what is he even worried about? The Archmage is a real genius. Suddenly he heard someone calling him. It was a call about the reward for the Fire Snake broadcast. He was offered the Trident skill, but it was no match for the Lightning Strike. Choose one of Asmo's items, an incredibly high bet. And again, there was no news from the Archmage. Is it okay to make subscribers wait? But right after that, the Archmage posted, and such news immediately lifted the spirits of the fans. The Archmage wrote that tomorrow there will be a stream with a raid on the Fire Snake. The next day, as he wrote, he started the broadcast. First he decided to show the effect with the Guardian armor, and then his new skill. But everyone saw Lucky and Gold fighting the Fire Snake. We also saw for the first time how to use Jackpot in battle. Viewers also noticed that the pattern changed due to the Jackpot. And then Lucky's new skill. He attacked the boss with lightning speed. Hen said that wasn't the most interesting part. Now he showed everyone the Trident skill. With its help, he attacked the snake. But that was not all. The Fire Snake froze due to the Trident's effect. After that, he used the repeat and released 5 more Tridents. And then, to everyone's surprise, he used another one. The Fire Snake began to freeze completely, until it completely turned to ice. But just 3 seconds later, the ice melted as the snake activated the torch. That's why they call her the Fire Snake. The boss started to move towards Hen, but he didn't even flinch. And when she came closer, he finally showed the lightning strike. That's how the review of the new skill ended. He dealt so much damage that he skipped the 3rd phase. Asmo donated 10,000 and asked what item he would choose next. Hen thought for a moment, since he had almost everything. But I still decided to ask for the Elven robe. But he immediately said that it was just a joke.